I'm obviously a ghost. How could I possibly give birth to a human? Hearing this, I was absolutely paralyzed with shock. Where did my big, beautiful mother go? What the heck is this? Feeling the icy grip around my throat tightening, I instinctively cried out, "Mom," but who would have thought? That word, "Mom," actually made her loosen her grip. As the suffocating feeling slowly faded, I just completely passed out, and by the time hunger woke me up, it was already pitch black outside. The glaring, eerie blue candlelight flickered in the room. It took me a while to adjust before I could look around. But I couldn't spot my ghost mother anywhere. Still, just thinking about that terrifying awakening last night, it sends chills down my spine even now. However, right as I was wondering how to fill my stomach and survive, I suddenly realized my ghost mother was standing right at the foot of my bed. And the look in her eyes was surprisingly complex. The fact that this ghost mother didn't kill me right away means she definitely held back, but expecting her to breastfeed me now is probably out of the question. And even if she could, I wouldn't dare drink it anyway. Just as I was racking my brain for a solution, I saw my ghost mother casually hand over a baby bottle made of pure jade. Inside the bottle was some unknown, dark red liquid. I immediately thrashed around in a panic, refusing to drink it. Seeing my reaction, my ghost mother's eyes instantly turned freezing cold. Seeing that, I had no choice but to take a gamble. This stuff shouldn't kill me, but just as I started gulping it down eagerly, I suddenly felt like I was plunged into a freezing ice cellar. And my consciousness slowly began to fade, while my ghost mother standing by the bed just watched me in absolute silence, as my whole body turned from a tender white to an ashy gray. Thank goodness, when I woke up again, my skin had completely returned to normal. And I could hear the chatter of two women near my ears. I peeked out for a bit, only to realize that my ghost mother, now wearing a human skin disguise, was having a surprisingly pleasant chat with a hired wet nurse. A ghost crept into our town last night. It slaughtered quite a few people over at the old Hu estate. Hearing that, I was internally screaming in utter panic. This wet nurse is literally courting death. Meanwhile, my ghost mother purposely furrowed her brows. Didn't the town just invite the earth god over? How could any ghost still dare to sneak into our Wangliang town? And right when she said that, I could vividly feel her piercing gaze locked right onto me. Right, my sweet baby? And at that exact moment, the wet nurse quickly tried to comfort her. Oh, please don't worry. The town mayor already went to fetch Master Ma. Hearing that, my ghost mother pretended to let out a long sigh of relief. The wet nurse, stepping closer to the bed, noticed I was awake. So she immediately scooped me up, soothing me warmly as she carried me around the house for a little stroll. I took the chance to carefully scan our own courtyard. The room I was staying in was the bedroom on the right side of the yard. The main door faces the living room directly, but the room on the left side of the yard was tightly locked shut. Who knows what the hell is locked inside there? Anyway, time flew by, and soon it was nightfall. Once home, my ghost mother peeled off her human skin disguise again, just quietly sitting at the table and reading a book. Seeing me staring at her with wide eyes, she filled up another bottle with that eerie, unknown liquid for me. Only this time, her eyes were completely dead and cold the entire time. She didn't say a single word. After 3 solid days of this routine, I realized my tiny body was growing at an insane speed. I could actually manage to walk a few steps. But right when I woke up on the 4th day, I overheard the wet nurse whispering, "The ghost this time is absolutely vicious." Even Master Ma couldn't handle it. It forced the old master to go burn incense at the Earth God's temple today. Have the Earth God help him out. And seeing my ghost mother listening to all this so calmly, I immediately knew her power must be terrifyingly high. I mean, not only can she blend in exactly like a normal person, living right here in Wangliang town, but the fact that neither the Earth God nor Master Ma could even detect her. That alone says it all. But just as I was leaning in to hear more, I heard her say, "I'm not going out today. I'll stay home and keep you company." Hearing that, I felt like I was plunging straight into an icy abyss. As soon as the wet nurse left, I squeezed my eyes shut and pretended to be asleep. Soon, the sickening sound of peeling skin echoed in my ears. I was so terrified, I gave up the act. I just opened my mouth and started wailing. But, obviously, my ghost mother didn't feel an ounce of pity for me. In an instant, she was right by the bed, staring down at me with those cold, dead eyes. She slowly leaned over, scooped me up from the bed, and carried me down into the hidden cellar beneath the room. Then, her freezing, emotionless voice whispered in my ear, "I've fed you so much of the demon elixir. Yet you still refuse to turn into a monster. It seems you're dead set on remaining human." Before us was a bubbling pool of thick, flowing blood. Seeing this, I grabbed onto her for dear life. My eyes rolled back into my head. And I just passed out completely. I don't know how much time went by, but I groggily opened my eyes. I was in a daze for a long time. Then I saw her, my ghost mother, wearing her human skin, walking up from the cellar. Terrified of what she might do to me, I instinctively opened my mouth and cried out, "Mom." Hearing that, her body actually trembled for a second, but she completely ignored me. And after that incident, I realized my body was unbelievably exhausted. I didn't even drink the demon elixir. I just fell straight into a deep sleep, and it stayed like that for several days in a row. But the good news was, she didn't force me to drink the elixir anymore. Instead, she called the wet nurse back and had her stay by my side, day and night. At first, things were looking pretty good for me, but it didn't even last a few days before the wet nurse couldn't take it anymore. Because I was growing way too fast. In just a few short days, I had the strength of a 2 or 3-year-old toddler. I was so strong that the wet nurse could barely hold my hands down. And my teeth, they didn't grow slowly like a normal child's. They all popped out at exactly the same time. I bit the wet nurse so hard she was too scared to feed me. When Lady Lu, my ghost mother, came back, she saw me lying there on the bed and just stared at me for a really long time. She stared so long it gave me the absolute creeps. Finally, she told the wet nurse to stop breastfeeding me. Just boil him some rice porridge, she said. Honestly, after seeing such a freakish baby, the wet nurse never wanted to come back. But my ghost mother was paying her way too much money. So, she bit the bullet and decided to stay a few more days. Meanwhile, I wasn't just sitting around either. To pull off my escape, I kept practicing how to walk. By now, I can actually sprint across the grass without tripping. As for talking, I've given it a few tries. I can spit out a few basic words. The complex sentences are still pretty broken. Now, all I have to do is wait for the perfect chance. But of course, plans never keep up with reality. That day, she told the wet nurse that because the hauntings at the Hu family estate were getting too violent, she was going to stay home tomorrow to keep me company. Hearing those words, my mind instantly flashed back to being dunked in that pool of blood. That little torture session left me so drained it took 3 or 4 days to recover. If I don't run now, I'm going to be boiled down into medicine dregs. I have to wait until she tells the wet nurse she's leaving. I hurried and gulped down every last drop of the rice porridge my wet nurse made, then quickly hopped out of bed and slipped on my shoes. But terrified that my ghost mother might notice, I didn't dare pack any food for the journey. Still, I knew exactly where she kept her money. After stuffing it into my shirt, and making sure my wet nurse was still busy humming a little tune in the kitchen, I didn't hesitate for a second. I slipped out of that front door I had never once stepped through. For a fleeting moment, even the air outside felt so much fresher. But the joy was short-lived. I quickly took in my surroundings. It looked like this house was built right on the edge of Wangliang town. I couldn't afford to hesitate. I bolted straight toward the west. I don't know how long I ran, but somehow, I ended up at the local earth god temple. This shrine had clearly been around for ages. You could easily tell, not just from the wooden threshold that had been worn down in the middle from countless footsteps, but also from the oil lamps thickly coated in black grime. Everything screamed how ancient this place was, and an ancient temple meant a powerful god. I tiptoed a few steps forward, and finally caught sight of the earth god's true face, hidden behind the altar curtain. I fell straight to my knees. Please, Lord Earth God, save me. My mother is a ghost. She's trying to kill me. Just as the words left my mouth, I was about to kowtow 3 times, when a thick plume of black smoke burst from the statue and slammed into the floor. It morphed into a tiny old man, barely 3 feet tall, looking exactly like the statue itself. The manifested earth god paced back and forth in front of me on his stubby little legs. Who is your mother? He demanded. Her name is Madame Lu, I replied. She runs the incense and candle shop right here in town. I explained it as clearly as I could. The earth god had to know her, but to my surprise, his face turned dead serious. Heh, you little brat. From where I'm standing, you're the one who looks like a downright monstrous little freak. So young, yet you run like the wind and speak as clearly as a grown man. And you actually dare show up at my door trying to fool me? With such a thick, rich scent of fresh blood on you, in all of Wangliang. I couldn't find a better snack if I tried. With fresh meat walking right up to my door, how could your old grandpa here let you go? With that, he thrust out his snake-headed walking stick and pressed it right between my eyebrows. Staring at his suddenly hideous, twisted face, panic seized my chest. Instantly, I felt a wave of freezing cold energy slithering down from that snake-headed cane, seeping straight into my body. It was a feeling I knew all too well. Every single time my ghost mother hugged me, I felt this exact same, bone-chilling cold. I instinctively jerked backward and tumbled hard onto the dirt floor. Are you a god or a ghost? The earth god heard me, and that wicked grin of his only grew wider. In the blink of an eye, his entire face withered into deep, ghastly wrinkles. Grotesque tongue rolled out, hanging all the way down to his chest as he mumbled at me. Ha ha ha, what do you think, boy? Do I look like a man, or a monster? Seeing this horrific sight, I scrambled backward in sheer terror. But no matter how far I crawled, I just couldn't escape the temple. Moments later, the shrine dissolved, twisting right into the haunted ruins of the old Hu family mansion. It hit me then. This monster standing right in front of me was the exact same vicious spirit that even Master Ma couldn't defeat. Just as I froze in shock, that hanged ghost's massive tongue whipped out and coiled tightly around my neck. It was choking the life out of me. Mom, help me. In that desperate moment, aside from my ghost mother, I honestly had no idea who else to call out for, but my screams seemed to draw something else in. Just as I shrieked for help, the hanged ghost suddenly snapped its head up and stared out the door. I turned my head to look, too, only to see my ghost mother slowly walking right into the old Hu family mansion. When the hanged ghost saw her, he couldn't help but panic a little. You're his mother? He couldn't figure out this calm and composed beautiful woman in front of him. Was she a yin walker, or a ghost like I said? Because in his eyes, my ghost mother looked human. Just an ordinary, everyday human. But how could an ordinary person just casually walk right into a haunted old mansion like this? My ghost mother looked at him with a perfectly calm expression. And here I thought Granny Ma couldn't even handle a mere wandering spirit. But it turns out to be a little stray evil spirit breaking in. Well, that makes sense. Seeing right through him, the hanged ghost panicked even more and quickly pulled back the long tongue that was wrapping around me. I never would have thought that a tiny place like Wangliang Town would actually have a yin walker with the 5 energies. You've raised quite a good son. Hearing this, my ghost mother gave a faint smile. Oh, how so? This little boy of yours. He has such a powerful mother right beside him, yet he doesn't trust you. He actually called you a ghost. Even said you were some kind of painted skin demon. It's absolutely hilarious. Ha ha ha. Meanwhile, I just leaned there against the threshold, watching these two monsters spouting nonsense. After he finished talking, my ghost mother slowly stepped closer. The hanged ghost was clearly getting flustered, but he still wouldn't back down, mocking her instead. So what if you have the 5 energies? The sun isn't out right now. The yang energy is scattered, and you're standing right on my turf. Do you really dare to make a move? My ghost mother didn't say a single word. She just slightly furrowed her brows, looking a little annoyed. The moment she frowned, the hanged ghost suddenly realized he couldn't move an inch. He couldn't even open his eyes, and even his thoughts became incredibly sluggish. My ghost mother leaned in right to his face, split her scalp wide open, and smiled. My son never lies, because I really am a ghost. With that, her scalp stitched itself back together, completely returning to that flawless, stunning beauty from just moments ago. As for the hanged ghost, he shattered into pieces like a broken mirror. When he hit the floor, he turned into a pile of pale, clear beads. This vicious monster that even Granny Ma couldn't defeat was actually wiped out by my mother just like that. So effortlessly. Just how terrifyingly powerful is my mother? Pick them up. Her freezing cold voice rang right in my ear. I froze for a second, but once I snapped out of it, I hurried over, grabbed those 4 round beads, and walked back to my ghost mother's side. I held the beads out to her with both hands. My ghost mother just gave a cold scoff. Her eyes were full of absolute disdain. Then, she turned right around and headed out the door. I hesitated for a split second, then immediately hurried after her. My ghost mother didn't say a single word when she reached the door. She just walked straight out into the street. I rushed to keep up. After a moment of hesitation, I reached out and grabbed the hem of her dress. I actually wanted to hold her hand, but I was just too short. Lady Lu walked so incredibly fast. For every stride she took, I had to jog 2 steps just to keep up. But as we kept walking, Lady Lu slowly began to ease her pace. I wasn't struggling so hard to chase after her anymore. We walked all the way back to the muddy dirt road right in front of our house. From a distance, I could see my nanny waiting anxiously by the door. Seeing me walking back perfectly fine, she dropped her jaw in shock and ran straight toward me. My ghost mother smiled softly and explained, "Our boy was just being playful and sneaked out without telling you. So please, don't worry." But seeing such a bizarre scene unfold right in front of her, my nanny completely froze. But she still nodded, turned around, and left. Before leaving, my ghost mother warned her not to tell anyone about what happened today. "I know, Lady Lu. Don't you worry." After saying that, she turned and walked away, not even noticing my pleading eyes. Even though I don't know why my ghost mother is hiding out in this desolate town. One thing is for sure, whenever she's in front of outsiders, she is simply Lady Lu. Only in front of me does she reveal her true form as a painted skin ghost. That's exactly why I wanted the wet nurse to stay. But we've reached a point where everything that could be exposed has been. With my ghost mother's sharp mind, she's already figured out that I'm no ordinary baby. Now, all I can do is bite the bullet and follow her home. Once we got home, I clung to her legs, bawling my eyes out. "Mommy, I thought I'd never see you again." My ghost mother froze for a second. Seeing me cry so heartbrokenly, a flicker of surprise crossed her face. But she quickly went back to being ice cold, lifting her leg to shake me off. But I was holding on too tight, so she just straight up shed her skin. Left hugging an empty suit of flesh, I watched her walk inside. Even though the whole thing was terrifying, it somehow made a weird kind of sense. Seeing her act so cold, I figured crying anymore wouldn't do much good anyway. I sniffled and wiped away my tears. Then, I dragged that skin suit into the house. Inside, my ghost mother was already sitting by the coffee table. She took a sip of her floral tea, then finally looked at me and waved me over. I trotted over to her. She gently raised her hand and softly stroked the back of my head, just like a real mother would. Then she asked in a soft voice, "Who are you, really?" Faced with a question that pierced right through my soul, I stayed silent for a moment. Then, I looked at her calmly and said, "Mommy, I am your baby, am I not?" My ghost mother froze. Nobody knew just how much she had sacrificed to finally have a child, only for things to turn out like this. Her voice turned ice cold again. "Go change your clothes." Hearing that, I finally let out a massive sigh of relief. Secretly thrilled that I managed to survive another day, I hugged her leg and happily cheered. "Thank you, Mommy." Then, I ran off to change my clothes. But once I found my clothes, I realized they had to be tied from the back. Helpless, I had to call out in my best baby voice, "Mommy, help me get dressed, I can't put them on." To my surprise, my ghost mother actually came up from the cellar, and she had even put her beautiful skin back on. She shot me a look of absolute disgust, but she still patiently helped me get dressed. I finally felt like I could breathe again. It just so happened to start raining outside, so my ghost mother decided we'd just stay home for the day. This was the first time I had ever spent this much time with her. I realized that, aside from the terrifying part where she peels her skin off, she acted exactly like a normal human being. This just made me even more confused. What in the world was her ultimate goal here? With a mind full of questions, I tossed and turned through a long, restless night. When I woke up the next morning, I reached under my pillow and realized one of the beads was missing. Panic hit me like a truck. I was terrified my ghost mother would find out. I frantically searched all over the bed, but I just couldn't find it anywhere. Just as I was panicking, my ghost mother suddenly rose up, right out of the floor. She looked at me coldly and said, "You've already eaten the bead." I froze. Could a bead formed from an evil spirit really be absorbed by a person? Did it just happen because I kept it under my pillow while I slept? Or did I somehow swallow it in my sleep without knowing? I honestly couldn't figure it out. I decided to just wait and see what happens tomorrow. After breakfast, I was getting ready to head out on my own. But then, my ghost mother sneered from behind me. "You want to go out alone again? Going to scare the villagers half to death, making them think you're some evil spirit too, huh?" I shivered instantly and quickly turned around, putting on a goofy smile. Well, what should I do then? She didn't answer. She just grabbed a baby carrier from the room. Staring at me blankly, she motioned for me to come over. Though I was a bit stunned, I had no choice but to let her strap me in and carry me on her back. This was literally the first time in my life I'd ever been carried like this. Her soft back actually felt really comfortable. I didn't sense any murderous intent from her at all. Instead, I felt weirdly safe. I drifted off to sleep just like that. It felt like a long time had passed. When I woke up again, I found myself inside an incense and paper goods shop. The agonizing wails of a man rang in my ears. "Lady Willow, my poor mother suffered her whole life, and now, even in death, someone skinned her." Hearing that, I woke up instantly. Skinned? Isn't that exactly what a painted skin ghost does? So that's why my ghost mother was staying in this town. The more I thought about it, the more it made perfect sense. Just then, my ghost mother completely dropped her usual icy demeanor. Speaking to the man in a gentle, caring voice, she said, "We all look out for each other in this town. No human here could do something so cruel. It must be the work of some evil spirit. Brother Zhu, you'd better go ask Master Ma to look into this for you. Here, take this joss paper and these offerings for now. If you need more, just come find me. Don't worry about the money right now." Mr. Zhu was crying his eyes out. Thank you so much, Lady Willow. I'll go find Master Ma right away. I should head back now." My ghost mother warmly saw him to the door, while I just sat there, absolutely mind blown. She was totally ruthless. She killed the woman, stole her skin, and was still making a profit off the grieving family. She was cashing in on both the living and the dead. What an absolute scam. It all suddenly clicked. That's why she opened a funeral supply shop. Once the man was far away, she turned around and glared at me. Her eyes were ice cold again. "Don't you dare ruin my business while you're out here. Got it?" I nodded furiously, trying to look as innocent as possible. I didn't dare do anything to upset her. As if she was worried I didn't get it. She added, "Don't let anyone see you walking around. And don't say a single word in front of them." With that, she walked out from behind the counter. She probably went out to take care of some business. So, I just lay there on the soft lounge chair, staring at the stuff on the shelves out of pure boredom. After a while, with no sign of her coming back, I couldn't help but ask out loud, "Mom, are you there?" My ghost mother responded. Feeling a bit relieved, I continued to ask, "Mom, who exactly is that Master Ma? Why does everyone go to him when something happens?" My ghost mother didn't answer. So I kept asking, "Mom, what were those beads you gave me yesterday?" "Yin beads?" There was a hint of impatience in her voice, but I pretended not to notice and pressed on. "Mom, are there really that many ghosts outside these days? Wouldn't that mean no one dares to leave their house?" "They can't see them," she replied. Then, unable to bear it any longer, she threw a blanket over me and told me to shut up. Just then, a loud shout suddenly came from outside the door. Lady Lu, Lady Lu." Hearing that it was my wet nurse's voice, I was instantly thrilled. After all, ever since I was born, my wet nurse had always taken care of me. My ghost mother immediately put on a kind smile and went to greet her. "What's wrong? You're already married with kids. Why are you still acting like a little girl?" "Oh my, Lady Lu, there you go saying that again." As she spoke, my wet nurse saw me lying on the recliner, staring blankly straight at her. Instantly, all the hairs on her body stood up. Seeing this, my ghost mother turned around and glared at me. "Just ignore him. Let's go outside and talk." Very soon, my wet nurse's hushed voice echoed from outside. "Lady Lu, you have no idea. That ghost in the old Hu family mansion, it vanished." "What, vanished? Wasn't it the earth god who dealt with it?" "Right, Master Ma thought so too. He just went to burn incense with the mayor. But the earth god said it wasn't his doing. Master Ma said the ghost might have just left on its own." My wet nurse's voice went up and down, clearly mastering the true essence of gossiping. And my ghost mother also showed off her superb acting skills. "Well, that's good, otherwise I wouldn't even be able to keep my shop open." I listened from the side, bored out of my mind, and wanted to roll over to change positions. Suddenly, I noticed a palm-sized scarecrow sitting on the counter. Catching my gaze, it purposely blinked at me, revealing an eerie smile, even though it wasn't my first time seeing such a supernatural creature. It still startled me. I am a servant ghost taken in by her ladyship. My name is Little Grass. Little Grass greets the young master. So, she was a little ghost raised by my fake mother. Just as I realized this, I heard my fake mother's voice from outside again. I heard the old lady of the zoo family is being haunted by a ghost? When did this happen? Probably just this morning. Yu Rong was just here buying joss paper from me, so that's how I heard about it. I can't believe such a thing happened. I'm going to go ask around right now. I'll come back and tell you later. And with that, my wet nurse couldn't even bother to take a sip of water before getting up and leaving. Just like that, my ghost mother successfully cleared herself of any suspicion in front of my wet nurse. But even if Master Ma did find out anything and came to confront my ghost mother, he would only be throwing his life away. I was just thinking about it when my ghost mother walked in from outside. She took one look at my face and instantly knew exactly what was on my mind. But for some reason, she inexplicably felt the need to explain herself. It wasn't me, even though I didn't believe her for a second, but I played along anyway, nodding vigorously and acting like I completely agreed. Soon enough, a few more customers came into the shop to buy incense and candles. In a world crawling with evil spirits, running a spirit shop is definitely a booming business. Once the rush was over, my ghost mother went to the back kitchen to start cooking. The second she left, I quickly spun around and stared at the scarecrow on the cabinet. Why aren't you moving? The lady told me to keep an eye on you, young master. Can't let you leave. And what if I do? The lady said if you try to leave, she'll make sure you can never leave again. Its little eyes looked so clueless and innocent. Right then, a sudden thought hit me. I quickly asked, yesterday, when I sneaked out, did you know about it? Of course I knew. I was following right behind you the whole time. But you're such a scaredy cat, young master. You saw a few wandering ghosts and didn't even dare to go near them. Little Grass pouted, clearly looking down its nose at those ghosts across the river. Judging from its answer, the ghosts in this world clearly have some kind of ranking system. What are the different ranks of ghosts? I heard the lady mention wandering souls, evil spirits, cursed entities, and stuff like that. I'm not really sure myself. Then what rank is my mother? Little Grass suddenly looked a bit terrified. The lady is just the lady. Seeing how clueless Little Grass looked, I decided to drop the subject. And what about people like Master Ma? What do you call those who hunt down evil spirits and cursed entities? They're called spirit walkers. There aren't many of them around. Plus, spirit walkers always die super fast. You must never, ever try to become one, young master. It's way better to just be a ghost with us, Little Grass said, hugging its little legs and spinning around in a circle. Completely carefree and bursting with joy. Spirit walkers, I muttered quietly to myself. They must be the superhumans of this world. Right as I was thinking about it, I suddenly felt a familiar surge of power inside my body. I quickly reached into my shirt and felt around. This time, I pulled out just 2 spirit beads, one green, one white. Another one was missing. Whoa, young master, the lady actually gave the spirit beads to you? No wonder your blood pact feels so strong. Little Grass stared intently at the spirit beads in my hand. Its eyes were absolutely glowing with envy. Young master, you've already eaten so many of them, and you still don't know what they do? It just stared at me. I honestly had no idea how to explain myself, so I kept my mouth shut, leaving Little Grass to explain it to me. You can get spirit beads by killing evil spirits and cursed entities. But the main supply actually comes from the underworld veins. But those veins are totally controlled by the ancient elite families. Spirit walkers like Master Ma, who don't have a big faction backing them. They just have to scrape by on their own. If a normal human eats a spirit bead, it boosts their life force. It makes them super strong. But if a ghost eats a spirit bead, it boosts their spiritual energy. It makes us powerful, too. Then, what exactly are life force and spiritual energy? It was incredibly rare to find someone who actually had answers, so there was no way I was letting this go. Right at that exact moment, a chilling, sinister voice echoed from the back room. If you think you talk too much, I'd be more than happy to sew that little mouth of yours shut. Spare my life, my lady. It was the young master who asked me. The young master is the master of the house. I didn't dare hide it from him. Watching Little Grass throw me under the bus in the blink of an eye, I was just speechless. Get over here and eat. Are you waiting for me to feed you? I quickly stuffed the yin bead back into my shirt and jumped off the plush chair. Running into the inner room on my short little legs, I hurried through the back door. Faint scent of peach blossoms filled the air. My ghost mother had already prepared 2 dishes and a soup. She was eating a bowl of white rice, while I was still stuck with rice porridge. I pointed at my teeth and whined, "Mom, let me eat real rice next time, please." My teeth are fully grown now. My ghost mother paused her chopsticks. How long until you look like a 5 or 6-year-old? I'm not exactly sure. Maybe a few days, or a month at most. My ghost mother gave a soft scoff and didn't say another word. After lunch, she tucked me behind the counter to keep Little Grass company. Meanwhile, she took a nap on the plush chair I had been using, resting until she woke up completely satisfied. Only then did I get the chair back. Exhausted, I crashed face first and instantly fell asleep. In my daze, I could still hear the wet nurse gossiping, but I was just too drained to care. Days passed by just like that. After I fully absorbed that white yin bead, just couldn't seem to absorb the cyan one. Still, I kept it on me every single day. After all, it was a gift from my mom. Almost 10 days went by like this. I started out looking like a 2 or 3-year-old toddler, but now I easily looked like I was 4 or 5. It was yet another afternoon. Just as I was helping my ghost mother pack up to head home, an old man covered in blood suddenly rushed into the room, panting heavily. Lady Lu, Little Grass, who had been sitting on my shoulder, immediately ducked behind me. She leaned into my ear and whispered, "Hurry, hide. Old Master Ma is here." I caught a whiff of the foul, metallic stench of blood coming from the old man. I quietly observed the man they called Old Master Ma. His hair was completely gray. He wore a short gray tunic, and his exposed calves were completely covered in deep, bleeding wounds. After rushing into the room, he gasped for breath. Only then did the bloody aura around him slowly settle down. The playful smile in my ghost mother's eyes faded slightly. She raised her pale hand and flicked her wrist forward, and the wide-open door slammed shut instantly. "You must be joking, Master Ma. What could a frail woman like me possibly do to help you?" My ghost mother sat down by the tea table. Carrying Little Grass on my back, I quickly scurried over to hide behind her. I poked my little head out to stare at Master Ma. It was only then that he finally noticed I was there. A look of surprise crossed his face, as if he couldn't believe that the tiny baby from just a while ago had already grown into a 5 or 6-year-old child. "What a handsome little kid. He's the spitting image of you, Lady Lu." My ghost mother just reached out and gently pushed my little head back into hiding. With my view blocked, I couldn't help but fall into deep thought. As an underworld walker, Master Ma was supposed to be an expert at dealing with spirits. Yet here he was, actually begging a ghost for help. It was completely absurd. With what happened today, Lady Lu, you absolutely must save this poor old man's life. My ghost mother picked up her teacup from the table and took a slow sip. "All right, spit it out. What exactly is going on?" Seeing that my ghost mother hadn't offered him a seat, Master Ma didn't dare to sit down. He just stood right where he was and continued, "A few days ago. You know that little skin-peeling demon that showed up in our town? At the time, the young lad from the zoo family came looking for me. He explained the whole situation, so I went along with him. Who would have thought that little demon was so brazen? It killed someone and actually stayed right there in the zoo family home. I captured it right then and there, thinking the whole mess was finally sorted out. But who could have guessed? A few days later, the exact same thing happened over in Little River Village. They begged me to come back. After this happened 2 or 3 times, I finally realized this wasn't so simple. So, I set up the altar and performed a ritual. Only after consulting the ancestral spirits did I find out that I had been running around in circles all along, and hadn't even touched the monster's true form. Ghost Mother chuckled. "Who says you didn't touch it? Aren't you touching it right now? Lady Lu, please don't make fun of this poor old man." Ghost Mother's smile slowly faded away. "Is that monster really so powerful? To think even you were hit by its curse. Tell me about it. If I hadn't kept that talisman you gave me all those years ago, probably never would have lived to see you again." Master Ma cried, wiping his snot and tears. Ghost Mother waved her hand. "It's not impossible for me to step in." Hearing this, Master Ma's eyes immediately lit up. "As long as you are willing to help, my lady, I would gladly march into hell for you." Ghost Mother let out a scornful scoff and crossed her legs. She reached out and shoved me forward. "I'll take care of this skin-peeling demon for you. In exchange, you'll teach him a few tricks. It doesn't need to be much. Just the basics will do." I gasped in shock. My eyes looked totally clueless, but inside, I was absolutely freaking out. Ghost Mother was actually going to send me off to learn from Master Ma. Become an underworld walker? Oh, I'm doomed. I'm so doomed. The young master is going to become an underworld walker. Underworld walkers die so young. Before the crops in the fields are even harvested, they could go through several generations of underworld walkers. Master Ma took a glance at me. "Lady Lu, your magic is so powerful. Why would you ever need an old man like me? My skills are strictly women's arts. They aren't suited for a growing boy." Hearing this, Master Ma looked me up and down a few more times. Then he finally nodded. "All right, it's a deal. I have absolutely no objections. I'll follow your arrangements, Lady Lu." Ghost Mother picked up her teacup. Taking the hint, Master Ma quickly bowed and took his leave. The second he left, I blurted out, "Mom, I don't want to go learn any stupid magic from Master Ma. I just want to stay right here with you." Ghost Mother's eyes softened just a little. "So, you aren't terrified that I'll eat you anymore?" "I'm not scared. The decision I've made is final, and you have no right to argue." On our way back, Ghost Mother didn't carry me on her back anymore. The two of us just walked side by side. I still clung tightly to the hem of her skirt, exactly like the day she rescued me from the old Hu family mansion. After we got home and ate dinner, Ghost Mother was still dressed in the same outfit. Watching me climb into bed, she said, "I need to head out for a bit. You be good and stay in the house all by yourself. Don't go wandering off. Yeah, it might take me a little while. If you're still planning on running away, you'd better make it quick. Oh, by the way, I'm taking Little Grass with me this time." So, it was a rare opportunity. I thought to myself, who fishes with a straight hook? But I stayed quiet. My Ghost Mother let out a sneer and got ready to leave. "Mother, I want to go with you." "You? Go with me?" My Ghost Mother turned around. For the first time, a look of sheer surprise flashed in her eyes. She always figured that, no matter how weird I acted, or how outrageous I seemed, in her eyes, it was all perfectly understandable. After all, I was the child of Lady Lu, the painted skin ghost. Even if I was human, I definitely wouldn't be a normal one. So lately, knowing how timid I was, she thought I just wanted to run away. But now, I was actually asking to tag along. I nodded as hard as I could. My ghost mother asked again, "Do you even know what I'm going out to do?" "I know, you're going to kill that flaying ghost. You know, and you still want to come? Alright, tell me why you want to go. And don't give me that nonsense about not wanting to leave my side." "Well, you're going to send me to Master Ma to learn some skills. I know you're doing it for my own good, mother. So, I'm going to have to face these things sooner or later. Rather than waiting around to be forced into it, might as well stick by your side and get used to it now." My ghost mother stared at her overly mature child, a complicated look in her eyes. "Let's go then, but I'm warning you, I won't be babysitting you. If you end up dead out there, don't come crying to me." "Got it." I scrambled right out of bed, slipped on my shoes, and ran over to my ghost mother, naturally grabbing hold of her skirt. The moon was unusually bright tonight. The whole town of Wangliang looked like it was draped in a delicate veil. This weather completely ruined my fantasy of a dark, stormy night for ghost hunting. Stepping onto the dirt path outside, my ghost mother headed straight west. I knew that was the way out of town. That meant the flaying ghost hadn't made it inside yet. We reached the small river to the west. The last time I came here, I saw wandering souls and evil spirits swarming the water and the opposite bank, and had to back off. Now, returning to the exact same spot, I gripped her skirt a little tighter. The moment we stepped onto the wooden bridge, those same monsters appeared. Except this time, the water hags in the river were standing on the rocks. Bowing deeply to my ghost mother, the serpent beauties on the other shore were doing the exact same thing. Even the old tree trunk with a human face lowered its willow branches, while bizarre, babbling cries echoed from the bushes further away. My lady, seeing all this left me completely stunned, but it quickly made sense. "You don't need to be afraid, young master. They're all just here seeking her ladyship's protection." Little Grass, who I hadn't seen earlier, popped out of my ghost mother's cloth bag and hopped right onto my shoulder. Looking at those monsters again, I actually felt a weird sense of warmth. My ghost mother didn't say a word, though. She just kept walking straight ahead. In so many places, I could clearly see there was no path. But with every step she took, the grass and trees just parted on their own. That's the shiverwood clearing the path for her ladyship. Back in the day, her ladyship, before it could finish. Its mouth was suddenly forced halfway shut. Terrified, it snapped its mouth completely shut. "Once we're in the old woods, keep your mouth shut if you know what's good for you." My ghost mother's chilling voice rang out. Then, she turned her head. "Remember this, no matter when, no matter how many tricks you have up your sleeve, never lose your respect for the old woods." It was my first time seeing her so serious, so I quickly nodded. Little Grass fell silent, and I quietly observed the old woods. I looked up and saw a bizarre bird with a snake's head perched on a branch ahead. Nearby, an ancient tree stump was walking around, and in the hills a bit further away, there seemed to be a wolf walking upright on two legs. To me, all of this was absolutely fascinating. I would never dare to come here on a normal day. Only now, safely following my ghost mother, could I look around so openly. I tilted my head and sneaked a peek, only to see a pitch-black cave on the cliff face ahead. There was nothing else, so the flayed ghost was hiding in this cave. Why wasn't my ghost mother going in? Could she be afraid? Just as I was wondering, I heard my mother speak. "Get the hell out." Her voice wasn't loud, but it was freezing cold. What happened next was a scene I'll never forget for the rest of my life. As soon as my ghost mother's words dropped, a monstrous spirit covered in blood actually rolled out of the cave. It rolled all the way right to my ghost mother's feet, then stood up, only to fall to its knees, trembling uncontrollably. So, dealing with monstrous spirits was really just that simple. I stayed safely behind my ghost mother. I was about the same height as the flayed ghost. Judging by its facial features, it seemed to be a female spirit, just like my mother. "You think you're worthy of imitating me?" she sneered, glancing around the desolate wilderness. My ghost mother spoke again, stomping her foot right onto the flayed ghost's forehead. She pinned it to the ground with her foot, without even bending her waist. "Tell those old bastards backing you up that there's no need to hide. I'll be right here in Wangliang town. If they aren't afraid of losing those pathetic official hats on their heads, then bring it on. Oh, and one more thing. If they dare send trash like this to disgust me again, I'll pay them a visit myself." With that said, she stomped her right foot down hard. The flayed ghost shattered into 6 spirit orbs, 2 red and 4 green. But my ghost mother pushed down even harder, crushing even the spirit orbs into absolute mush. I knew right then, mother was genuinely furious this time. On our way back, my ghost mother walked extremely fast. She had absolutely no intention of waiting for me. But luckily, my vitality was roughly equal to 3 grown adults, so I could barely keep up. We walked the whole way. It wasn't until we neared the town that my ghost mother finally seemed to cool off. She turned around, looked at me, and said coldly, "Weren't you curious why you can see these evil spirits, but others can't?" I was a bit stunned, but I nodded my head. My ghost mother raised her hand and smacked the back of my head hard. The sheer force of that smack made me see stars, feeling like I just met my maker. Just as I steadied myself to ask why, My entire body started turning ice cold, the freezing sensation spreading from the back of my head to my whole skull. Then it spread to my chest, and finally, to my hands. I could finally see it clearly. My once pale and delicate hands had turned a deep dark green. My normally neat nails began to grow rapidly, curving inward into a pair of sharp claws. If I really think about it, then right now, my own body and head. I frantically grabbed my head with both hands. What I touched was cold and slippery. I opened my mouth to call out for Mom, but the sound that came out was incredibly shrill and ear-piercing. I suddenly looked up at my demon mother. The look in her eyes as she gazed back at me was no longer cold like before. Her face was full of tender love. My demon mother leaned down slightly, reaching out to gently stroke my forehead. "Be a good boy, Xiao Bai, call me Mom." I took a step back, completely in shock, because, reflected in her clear eyes, I saw my own face. Livid green, blood-red eyes, and large pointed ears. My black hair had turned into a little patch of yellow fur. What is this? So, I'm a demon too, right? How could the child of a demon possibly be human? I looked up again, only to find that my demon mother's once loving eyes had turned freezing cold once more, but within that icy stare, I also saw a flicker of pain. Did my words just now hurt her? You want to be human that badly, huh? Fine, I'll give you what you want, my demon mother said coldly. Suddenly, she slammed a fist into her own chest. My demon mother, who hadn't taken a single scratch even against the hanged demon and the flayed demon, actually coughed up a mouthful of blood right now. She reached out and traced several cryptic runes in the air. With the final tap, the blood landed right on top of my head. In the next instant, I felt the freezing cold and discomfort all over my body slowly fade away. My long claws returned to normal, and my hands became smooth and pale once again. So this was the power of my demon mother's blood. She had sealed away her own demonic essence, just so I could live peacefully as a human. By the time I snapped out of it, she had already walked far away. I opened my mouth, wanting to call out to her, but then I felt like I was the one who was in the wrong first. It wasn't until we reached the front door of our house that I finally called out to her, and at the same time, I managed to ask a question. "Mom, where is my dad?" My demon mother acted as if she hadn't heard me at all, completely ignoring the question. She just walked straight through the doorway. I stood there at the entrance, staring at the front door. She had slammed it so hard that it was still swinging back and forth. The good news was, she probably really wasn't going to kill me anymore. After all, I said such awful things to her today, and she still didn't attack me. The bad news, though, was that she seemed completely disappointed in me. After getting inside, she was nowhere to be seen. I figured she probably went down to the basement. Fighting off my heavy sleepiness, I started cleaning myself up alone. By the time I took off my clothes and got into bed, I was dizzy from exhaustion, but I still didn't forget to look at the side of my bed. I watched for a long time, but her figure never appeared. Only then did I bury my head under the covers. "Good night, Mom." Once my breathing steadied and I fell completely asleep, my demon mother appeared out of thin air by the bed. Just like every night before, she stood there watching me, her eyes filled with complex emotions. One moment she's ice cold, and the next, she's completely gentle. Mixed in with all that was a hint of regret, and even a bit of pride. The next day at breakfast, I realized she wasn't nearly as cold as I expected. She even went out of her way to steam 2 eggs just for me. I guess that's just a mother's nature. Like I said, how could she stay mad at her own flesh and blood? I happily polished off my food, only to suddenly hear her voice ring out. "Ma Lao-san will be here to pick you up in a bit. Once you get there, make sure you actually learn some real skills." "I'll keep that in mind, Mom." And my ghost mom, knowing my temper all too well, paused her makeup and turned around. She warned in a chilling tone, "You saw exactly how Ma Lao-san acted around me last time. So whatever you do not go flaunting your status in front of him. Otherwise, Mom, just relax. Your son isn't that kind of guy. But if old man Ma dares to bark at me, I'll beat the absolute crap out of him." My ghost mom's hand instantly froze. Sensing the immediate danger, I bolted out the door. I had pretty much figured out my ghost mom's temper by now. The rule was simple. As long as outsiders were around, she would disguise herself as a completely normal human. So, the golden strategy was, talk a big game, then run for your life. Exactly, but what I absolutely didn't expect was, the second I dashed out of the courtyard, I smacked face first right into someone. Ouch, holy mother of, you're burning up like a furnace. Are you trying to roast your own bones alive? With that, the guy reached right out and grabbed me. He grabbed the back of my neck. Naturally, I recognized who it was right away. Remembering my ghost mother's warning, I didn't even struggle. I just let Master Ma do his thing. His grip felt incredibly strong. He lifted me right up into the air, and started squeezing the bones and muscles all over my body. Even when my ghost mother stepped out, he didn't stop. From top to bottom, all the way down to my feet. Only then did he put me down. The second my feet hit the ground, I darted straight behind my ghost mother. I hugged her thigh tight, only daring to peek my head out slightly. Master Ma seemed to hesitate for a moment, before finally speaking up. "Forgive me for asking, Lady Lu, but why is the young master's vital furnace burning so fiercely? He's still too young. His spirit just can't keep up. It's going to burn his body out. It's fine. He can handle the strain. Alright, then, Lady Lu, I'll be taking the young master with me now. Wait, my ghost mother turned and went back into the house. When she came back out, she had a neatly folded cloth bundle resting on her shoulder. And in her hands, a small, exquisite little pouch. Sorry to trouble you. She handed the pouch over with both hands. Being treated so solemnly, Master Ma quickly accepted it with both hands. He opened the pouch and took a peek. His hands instantly started trembling. Lady Lu, this is far too precious. I gave it to you, so just keep it safe. After saying that, my ghost mother glared down at me and tossed the bundle into my hands. Get over there. Only then did I finally strap the bundle of clothes onto my back. With obvious reluctance, he walked over to Master Ma. Seeing me look so miserable, my ghost mother's lips parted. But in the end, she didn't say a word and just turned back into the house. Alright, let's get moving. It's not like you're never coming back. Cut the tearful goodbye act. The moment my ghost mother was out of sight, Master Ma completely dropped his friendly act. I kept my mouth shut, trying my hardest to fight back a huge grin. I walked out looking totally heartbroken, keeping the sad act up until we hit the east crossroad. That's when I realized, Master Ma had actually brought a carriage. The carriage was battered and worn, and the poor thing pulling it was just an old, bony horse. Once Master Ma shoved me inside the cabin, I finally noticed. I wasn't the only one heading out to learn the trade. There were already 2 other kids sitting inside, sitting quietly on opposite sides of the carriage. Honestly, I lost track of time. Just when I felt like my bones were going to shatter from all the bumping. The carriage finally jolted to a stop. We're here. Get out, Master Ma barked. I obediently turned around, but as I reached the door, it hit me. Where was I supposed to go? Look at my terrible memory, he muttered. We used to have separate rooms for you lot. But a wild mountain spirit wandered through right after the new year and completely smashed the place. They're rebuilding it now. For now, you'll just have to squeeze in with the others. Just stay there for a few days, alright? Fine. Having no choice, I hoisted up my massive sack and pushed the door open to step out. The second I stepped out, I realized something strange. The courtyard was completely empty. Everyone was packed tight into the big room across the way. I walked across the yard and stopped right at their door. Before I even stepped foot inside, I could hear a massive uproar of cheers. Fight had broken out. I squeezed my way through the crowd, but before I could even see anyone, I was nearly knocked out by the absolute stench. Foot odor, sour sweat, and pure rot, all mixed together. Stabbing straight into my nostrils. The smell was seriously lethal. Yeah, Zhe Laohei never disappoints. A cheap shot. He used the monkey steals the peach, haha. The roaring laughter of the teenage boys drew my attention. I looked up and saw Lu Tai, the kid who rode here with me, curled up in a ball on the floor. He was clutching his crotch, howling in pain. Standing over him was a scrawny, dark-skinned teenager. I mean, I'm stuck in the body of a 6 or 7-year-old kid right now. I'm easily 8 or 9 years younger than these guys. Lu Tai spotted me and forced out a warning through gritted teeth. You have to fight for a bed here. Only the winners get to sleep on the bunks. Losers sleep on the floor. He gestured toward the space right behind me. I glanced over my shoulder, finally noticing a few dirty, shredded burlap sacks tossed in the corner. Several guys were literally trampling all over them with their muddy shoes. I stared at this gang of unruly teens. Honestly, I couldn't care less about getting into a brawl. I gave one look at the smug Chu Qianhai acting like a king on his bed. And I just turned around and walked out. If you can't handle it, go home and drink your baby milk. The boys burst into a chorus of mocking laughter behind me. I ignored them and went straight to Master Ma's room. But the moment I pushed his door open, man, it reeked of a totally different kind of weird musk. Master Ma was thoroughly absorbed in some dirty little picture book. Catching me walking in, he quickly shoved it under his covers and glared. What the hell do you want now? It's too stinky in there. I just couldn't sleep out there, so you'll have to make do, old master. Old Master Ma froze for a second. He knew exactly what I meant. In all these years, I was the very first person to complain about the crappy conditions and steal his turf. He was actually amused. Alright. You're quite the spoiled young master, aren't you? You can sleep on those wooden benches tonight. I didn't complain. To be honest, old Master Ma's bed was completely covered in mold anyway. It was absolutely impossible to sleep on. The very next day, while those teenage boys were practicing martial arts in the courtyard, they suddenly saw me swaggering right out of old Master Ma's room. Their eyes nearly popped out of their heads. Who the hell is this rich kid? Normally, anyone who even got close to old Master Ma's room would get beaten to a pulp. Yet here I was, spending the whole night inside. Soon enough, old Master Ma walked out from next door. Seeing them staring, he barked, "If you're done practicing, get the hell out of here." Watching old Master Ma throw his weight around, I couldn't help but remember how he begged for his life in front of my ghostly mother. But I kept that thought to myself. After all, I still needed him to help nourish my spiritual energy. Under everyone's watchful eyes, old Master Ma led me out the gate. The boys were all whispering, guessing that I was his illegitimate son. "Walk this way," he grunted. Old Master Ma was still clutching his old smoking pipe as he warned me. "Once we step into the old woods, keep your mouth shut unless you absolutely have to speak." Old Master Ma warned, puffing on his pipe. Last time, I went into the mountains with my mother. And this time, it was with old Master Ma. I nodded vigorously. If you hear someone calling your name in the mountains, absolutely do not turn around or answer them. That could be a snake siren trying to take your life. I immediately thought of what I saw across the river from the town. Also, don't just sit down anywhere once we're in the woods. Never sit on an old tree stump. Last year, a kid didn't listen and got his guts ripped right out on the spot. Old Master Ma spoke very fast, wanting to finish his warnings before we entered the woods. The moment we stepped into the trees, I felt like the entire forest came alive. Countless eyes suddenly locked onto me. Old Master Ma let out a dry chuckle. Well then, now do you see how blazing hot your inner furnace is burning? If we don't get some spiritual energy to cool that fire down, I reckon you'll even have evil spirits crawling into your bed at night. I didn't say a word. With wide eyes, I stared intensely at my surroundings. Rocks that moved on their own. Rats that stood up and walked on two legs. Even though there wasn't a single breeze, those few willow trees were still twisting and writhing their branches. Master Ma, is the wilderness always this full of evil things? Not necessarily. It's just that there's a vein of dark energy not far from here, so the spirits are a bit more rampant. Alright, that thing over there should do the trick. As he spoke, old Master Ma took a massive step forward. Beside me, a blast of scorching hot wind whipped past. He threw a punch right into a thrashing bundle of hair in the bushes, and it instantly stopped moving. Old Master Ma pulled out his pipe and blew out a puff of smoke, which turned into a white chain that locked the hair in place. He waved me over. Lie down, and hug it. Wait, hug what? Do you want to nourish your spiritual energy or not? This thing is the only thing that can save your life right now. I stared at him in pure shock. Hold on a second, when you said nourish my spiritual energy, I thought we were going to find a place filled with spiritual power. I just wanted to say, I'd be perfectly fine just staying inside. Instead of hugging this creepy thing, I'd rather go back and hug my painted skin ghost mother. Ha, I called you a spoiled young master, and you actually took it to heart. Places like that do exist, right inside the yin vein. If you're so capable, get your old lady to take you there. This old man only has this one method, take it or leave it. I stared at the filthy, tangled, foul-smelling hair, and reluctantly lay down to hug it. It felt freezing and utterly disgusting to the touch. But once I hugged it, a wave of coolness spread across my chest. It felt just like plunging into a cold river on a scorching hot day. So, something was definitely wrong with my body. When I slowly opened my eyes, I realized this disgusting thing was actually acting like an octopus, wrapping itself tightly around my body. My heart fiercely skipped a beat. I pulled at it with all my might, but the damn thing seemed to have taken root. Even though I used every ounce of my strength, it wouldn't budge an inch. Alright, that's enough. It's just tying you up. It's not going to kill you. Not far away, Old Man Ma was leaning against an old locust tree. He was holding a worn-out picture book, his expression completely unreadable. I had tried to probe him several times last night, but couldn't get a single word out of him. He only said it was his exclusive secret technique, and I'd have to pay extra if I wanted to learn it. I tried to move, only to find that a huge chunk of the hair was buried deep underground. I couldn't help but ask, what exactly is this? Crone's hair? Rumor has it, this stuff only grows in the cursed earth where baby girls were buried. Who knows if it's true? A sudden chill shot straight up my spine. The thing in my arms felt even more freezing. I don't know how much time passed, but I was jolted awake by a swift kick from Old Man Ma. I scrambled to my feet. The hair had completely vanished, and the biting cold had mostly faded away. I brought up my system panel. My spirit stat had gone from 0.8 all the way up. Just this morning, I had added 0.1 stat points to my spirit. Logically, it should have only been 0.9. I completely didn't expect it to actually hit 1.0. This extra fraction of a point was the effect of this crone's hair. Really this amazing? Let's go. Old Man Ma tapped his pipe against the tree trunk, knocking out the dead ashes. He turned and started walking. It was right around high noon. I quickly picked up my pace to follow him, my tone unconsciously growing a bit warmer. Old Man Ma, it's still early in the day. How about we come back for another round this afternoon? Old Man Ma stopped dead in his tracks. He let out a cold laugh. When he turned his head, his gaze was sharp and piercing. I'll teach you another lesson today. There's a limit to everything. Whether it's swallowing yin beads or cultivating your spirit, going too far is just as bad as not doing enough. Never get greedy. I silently nodded. By the time we returned to the courtyard on the hill, it was exactly lunchtime. Just as Old Man Ma picked up his bowl, a donkey cart suddenly rushed up to the gate. A man jumped off and dropped heavily to his knees. A family over at Bear Ridge has been cursed. Even summoning their ancestors couldn't suppress the evil. Crying and begging Master Ma to save a life. Master Ma didn't say a word, just put down his bowl and chopsticks, hopped onto the donkey cart and left. In the dining hall, the boys watched the donkey cart fade into the distance, sighing in awe. Someone brought up how their elders had been possessed by evil spirits, saying that even when Master Ma got beaten bloody, he never charged a single extra copper coin. The others nodded in agreement. I lowered my eyes, thinking to myself, perhaps this is why Mother let him live. Suddenly, a scoff came from the corner. You really think he's helping you for free? Every family here has paid him off. Besides, he only fights those spirits for their yin pearls and spiritual essence. I glanced over. It was an arrogant-looking boy, sitting next to a companion who looked just like him. He caught me looking and shot me a challenging glare. I didn't want any trouble, so I just looked away. Brother Six called me Chu Qianhai, and Lu Tai over to practice our martial stances. Master Ma had developed these stances after watching the old bears at Blind Bear Ridge for 81 years. Every time you practice, your vitality grows a little stronger. I watched closely, and once I got the hang of it, I started practicing on my own. Chu Qianhai picked it up pretty well, but Lu Tai's punches were totally weak. Young master, a tiny voice whispered from the wall. I looked up and saw Little Grass clinging to the edge. I quickly asked, Little Grass, what are you doing here? Where's my mother? The madam didn't come. She told me to visit you for half a day, every day, to help nurture your spiritual essence. Here, the madam gave this to you. I swear I didn't take a single bite, even though it smells incredibly good. But I held back. Little Grass then spat out a yin pearl. Staring at the yin pearl in my hand, my eyes welled up with tears. I knew mother always loved me. After that, Little Grass sat on my shoulder, watching me practice while happily chattering away in my ear. From its endless rambling, I actually learned a lot more about the hidden secrets of this world. It turns out that ancestral remains really can suppress evil spirits. And here in Yellow Sorghum Town, besides Master Ma, there's Granny Wong, the old Taoist, the mad old man, and a bunch of other yin walkers. But Master Ma is the only one who actually steps up to help the common folks. By evening, Little Grass suddenly jolted. It jumped off my shoulder and frantically squeezed its way out the window. Master Ma is back. See you tomorrow. Right as it said that, Master Ma's hulking, fierce figure marched into the courtyard. He harshly scolded a few of the boys who were slacking off, then went straight to his room and passed out. Clearly, dealing with that evil spirit took a huge toll on him. For the next 3 days, I stuck to a strict routine. In the early mornings, I'd boost my stats. Late mornings, I'd go into the woods to nurture my spiritual essence. And in the afternoons, I'd practice my martial stances. 3 days later, my stats showed my vitality was at 3. And my spiritual essence was at 2.1. Master Ma checked my bones and was absolutely stunned. He said he could ignite my inner furnace tomorrow. I tried hard to suppress my excitement, and asked Little Grass to pass the news on to mother. That very evening, an incredibly breathtaking figure appeared right at the Ma family estate. Lady Lu, wearing that flawless, exquisite skin of hers, was dressed up perfectly. Her figure was utterly captivating. The moment she showed up, in an instant, she drained every ounce of strength from those hot-blooded boys in the courtyard. Faces flushed red, they slumped to the dirt clutching their stomachs, stripped of even the courage to look her in the eye. And right there, under their stares of mingled shock and envy, Lady Lu gently took my hand. Together, we slowly walked out of Master Ma's room. We walked deep into the woods before Mother finally came to a halt. I've already handed the kindling for the fire over to Ma III. When the time comes, just do exactly as he says. I clenched my fists tight, nodding vigorously. I won't forget, Mother. Mother gave me a long, deep look, her red lips parting slightly. There's also a chant. You must recite it silently when you light the fire. Not a single word can be wrong. By the grains of the earth, through the cycles of rebirth. Before you light that first fire, Xiao Sao won't be coming around anymore. You'll be on your own these next few days. Mother's voice trailed off, her beautiful brows knitting together in a frown. Never mind, is there anything else you need? Seizing this fleeting moment of warmth, I gathered my courage and finally asked the question that had been eating at my heart. Mother, you used to be human too, didn't you? The air around us instantly froze. Mother just looked at me in silence, storm of complex emotions swirling in her eyes. After a long moment, she turned away. If that is all, I'll be going now. Leaving behind only the faintest scent of peach blossoms, her retreating figure looked so resolute, yet so terribly lonely. I sprinted out of the woods, shouting after her fading silhouette. Mother, don't you worry, as soon as I light that fire, I'll come straight home to see you. She never looked back, walking straight out through the gates of the Ma family manor. The boys in the courtyard were practically drooling over her as she left. But, the second my eyes met theirs, those lustful stares morphed into pure, naked malice. A few sneering voices started calling out, "Oh, young Master Lu," followed by a chorus of grating, mocking laughter. One of them mocked me, saying I was barely out of diapers and still dreaming of lighting the fire. But it got worse. With a filthy, lecherous smirk, one of them smacked his lips. "Where's that slutty widow mother of yours hiding? How about I step in and be your new daddy?" My face went deadpan as I walked straight toward him. It was Wang Zhu, the exact same guy who, on the very first day in the dining hall, tried to act like he was the only sane one around. Over these past few days, he'd been glaring daggers at my back more times than I could count. Xiao Sao had warned me that this creep was a regular at the shop, buying incense and candles. I knew damn well that his little comment was no joke. I kept my face utterly blank as I closed in on Wang Zhu. Just as we brushed shoulders, I spun around violently. I threw a brutal punch straight between his legs. 30 points of vital energy, the raw, unadulterated strength of 3 full-grown men. I unleashed it all into that single blow. A sickening, gut-wrenching crack echoed through the courtyard. Before Wang Zhu could even let out a scream, he crumpled to the dirt, clutching his groin. The roaring laughter died instantly. Every single person around us gasped in sheer terror. Instinctively stumbling backward, I just stood there, towering over him with a dead-cold stare. Slowly leaning in to whisper, making sure only he could hear my words. "If you've got a problem with it, you can take it up directly with my mother. The commotion quickly alerted Master Ma. He came striding out of his room. He glanced at the gruesome scene on the ground and frowned. Someone carry Wang Zhu off to get patched up. Lu Bai, you come inside with me. The boys scrambled as if their lives depended on it, hurriedly carrying him away. As far as they knew, Master Ma had the absolute best healing black plaster. So this injury would only take a few days of rest. Inside the room, Master Ma stared at me. His eyes searched for an answer. What happened? You're not usually the type to go looking for trouble. He said he wanted to be my father. Master Ma's expression instantly darkened. Without another word, he spun around, threw open the door curtain, and bellowed into the courtyard. Someone pack up Wang Zhu's things. Tell him to get the hell out of here and go home. After Wang Zhu was dragged away, the other boys looked at me with absolute dread. Nobody dared to act out again. Later that night, things were far from peaceful in the Wang family's ancestral hall. Wang Zhu knelt before their silver-haired and utterly ruthless Granny Wang, sobbing about how vicious and cruel I was. His bitter, sharp-tongued mother, Lin Dezhao, added fuel to the fire, screaming that she would smash my family's incense shop to pieces. Even though the others feared my Lu family's background, Granny Wang just kept rolling the walnuts in her hand, her face turning dead cold. To her, Master Ma tossing out her own nephew just for my sake was a massive slap in the face. Looks like I haven't been out and about in far too long. This Wangliang town only seems to know Master Ma, and has completely forgotten about me, Granny Wang. The next morning, after I finished assigning my stat points, Master Ma slung a cloth bag over his shoulder, looking dead serious. He led me to a locked room in the corner of the estate. The other boys stopped their morning drills. They stared in absolute shock. None of them expected that I was actually about to light the furnace. Lu Tai gulped hard, while Chu Qianhai gave me a long, deep look. He threw his punches with even more aggression. As the heavy wooden door creaked open, I stepped over the threshold, full of anticipation, only to freeze dead in my tracks. The room was completely empty, except for a scratched-up wooden table and 2 long benches. It was incredibly shabby. Master Ma caught the flash of disappointment in my eyes. He chuckled, latching the door shut behind him. You little punk, what did you expect to find in here? Well, definitely not this. I answered honestly. The real trade secrets are all hidden down below. Master Ma raised his eyebrows with a smug grin. He walked over to the corner, felt around for a moment, and yanked up a rusty iron ring. With a heavy thud, a massive stone slab was pulled open. A pitch-black cellar was revealed, and a freezing, musty stench hit me right in the face. Master Ma climbed down the wooden ladder first and lit a torch. By the flickering firelight, I finally got a good look at the cellar. This place looked like a straight-up haunted crypt. The cracked dirt walls were lined with dark red executioner's blades, shredded burial clothes, and old sweeping brooms. The junk piled up in the corner gave off that sickly, rotting stench you only find in deep woods. But the most terrifying thing of all was sitting right in the middle of the cellar. A meditation cushion, squirming slowly, as if it were alive. Come over here and take a seat. Master Ma pointed at the horrific cushion with his pipe. I'd seen plenty of bizarre things lately, so I choked down my fear. Gritted my teeth and sat down cross-legged on it, but I never expected. The very second I sat down, a pair of deathly pale human hands crept out from under the cushion, completely soundless. They clamped dead tight onto my legs. An intense, bone-piercing chill instantly crawled up my calves. I let out a violent shudder. Take off that jacket, bare your chest. Master Ma's voice was absolute and left no room for argument. I took a deep breath, biting back the sickening wave of cold. I stripped off my shirt just as he ordered. Originally, the kindling to ignite this fire required the ashes of your own ancestors. Seeing as your Lu family had no kin or ties in this town, I was planning to have you take an underworld spirit as your godparent. Master Ma muttered while fiddling with the items in his hands. He continued in a haunting tone, but to my surprise, yesterday, your mother actually managed to track down your ancestors' ashes. Well, that makes things a whole lot easier. Fighting through the freezing grip of those ghostly hands on my legs, I couldn't help but ask. Why are a person's own ancestors' ashes better? Is there some kind of rule behind it? Master Ma let out a cold sneer, a flash of pure ruthlessness darting across his eyes. Hey, once the life fire is lit, and you become a shadow walker between worlds, then for the rest of your life, you are doomed to battle those foul spirits and demons to the bitter end. If you didn't have your own ancestors' ashes shielding you, do you really think your scrawny little body could take it? Master Ma gave a cold, hard snort. He dumped the entire box of ashes straight into a porcelain crucible. Right after that, he pulled a tiny vial of blood from his cloth bag. The very second the cork popped off, a thick, stinging stench of blood instantly choked the entire cellar. As he used a pestle to blend the blood and ashes together, he clicked his tongue in absolute awe. The look he shot me carried a heavy dose of deep scrutiny. To actually get her hands on something this vicious, your mother really is something else. Tossed my shirt aside and sat bare-chested with my legs crossed. The freezing draft of the cellar and those deeply creepy hands on my legs broke my skin out in full-body goosebumps. Master Ma didn't say another word. Out of nowhere, he whipped out a brand new wolf hair writing brush. He coated it thick in the scarlet ash. A human is born with 3 fires of life, resting on both shoulders and the crown of the head. If yours were snuffed out from birth, they must be sparked back to life using vital blood as the guide. His gaze sharpened intensely. The tip of the brush struck perfectly at the base of my lower back, then dragged violently straight up along my spine. It stopped right at the back of my head. At first, there was only a fleeting touch of cold, but the very next second, that painted streak of blood began to boil like scorching molten lava. An agonizing, searing heat instantly ripped right through my nerves, feeling like my entire body was about to burn from the inside out. Right at the breaking point, my mother's desperate warning flashed in my mind. I clamped my jaw completely shut and frantically chanted that sacred mantra in my head. Through all creation, the cycle turns. Master Ma's voice echoed in my ears, muffled as if trying to reach me from underwater. It sounded distant and ethereal, yet incredibly deafening. When the life fire burns, the dark spirits flee. To spark the flame, one must first summon the yang. You're just a little brat who hasn't even grown up yet, so there's no need to question your pure boyish essence. I was in so much agonizing pain I couldn't even force out a single sound. My entire body shook violently, trembling like a leaf in a storm. A nameless, chaotic hellfire raged wildly inside me, desperately craving an outlet to burst free. Just look at you cowering. Can't even handle this much? Master Ma barked out a harsh laugh, slashing down the final stroke of the brush. He abruptly stood up straight, giving his shoulders a violent, sharp jerk. In a split second, a terrifying wave of heat swept fiercely through the cellar. If anyone had opened their inner spirit eyes, they would be able to see 3 roaring balls of fire hovering right over his shoulders and the crown of his head. Ready? He chuckled darkly. He raised his hand, pinching the empty air above his right shoulder as if plucking a tiny spark. With a flick of his finger, he shot it right into my shoulder. Go! The yin fire is passed down, burning endlessly from generation to generation. Pop! An incredibly soft explosion crackled right next to my ear. Immediately after, that violent, raging heat inside me that felt like it was going to burn me to ashes finally found an outlet, surging toward my right shoulder like rivers rushing into the sea. The boiling heat faded, replaced by a refreshing, soul-soothing coolness. It felt just like plunging into an icy pool at the peak of summer. My tense nerves instantly relaxed. I couldn't help but let out a muffled groan of pure relief. Turning my head to look, a faint, yet resilient little flame was hovering quietly right above my right shoulder. Flickering softly, meanwhile, back at the Lu family shop in Yellow Millet Town, Madame Lu, who was usually elusive and hard to track down, was acting completely out of character today, sitting at the table without taking a single step away. Her gaze kept drifting absently toward the door. On the table, Little Grass was stamping its little feet in anxiety. Scratching its head, it whined, "My lady, if the young master really lights the fire, does that mean Little Grass can't sit on his shoulder anymore? Will that fire burn Little Grass to ashes?" But before it could finish complaining, an invisible thread stitched its mouth halfway shut. Little Grass drooped its mouth in grievance. It stayed quiet for barely a few breaths before it couldn't help but mumble unclearly again. "My lady, are you worried that with the young master's identity, he won't be able to light the fire? And will just get burned to death instead?" Madame Lu's hand, holding her teacup, paused almost imperceptibly. Then, she let out a cold snort. "Whether he lives or dies is none of my business. Humans." Little Grass rolled its eyes dramatically and gathered the courage to call her bluff. "The day the young master left with Master Ma, you stood behind the door for a full hour. And last night, you were secretly wiping your tears, MMPH. MMPH. This time, Little Grass's mouth was sealed completely shut. It rolled around frantically on the table. Looks like it won't be unsealed for at least 3 days and 3 nights. Back to the dancing flame, hovering just inches away. The firelight illuminated my amazed expression. "Don't worry, this fire only burns evil spirits. It doesn't hurt the living." Master Ma tapped his smoking pipe lazily, his eyes full of admiration. "The 3 fires realm, the fact that your first fire can burn for a solid 5 minutes, shows that you've got a seriously solid foundation, kid." With a shift of my mind, I summoned my status panel. Both my vitality and spirituality had gone up slightly. My realm had clearly leveled up to 3 fires. As my thoughts flowed, the flame on my shoulder faded away, and my boiling vitality completely settled down. As I was putting my clothes back on, I couldn't help but ask out of curiosity, "Master Ma, besides driving away ghosts, are there any other tricks to this 3 fires realm? What's the rush?" Master Ma glared at me in annoyance. "First, memorize 2 major taboos. Number 1. While the fire is lit, if you hear someone calling your name from behind, or tapping your shoulder, you absolutely must not turn your head. Once you turn around, the ghost blows out the lamp, and getting it lit again will be harder than climbing to heaven. More than likely, you'll end up as food for the evil spirits." I nodded solemnly, taking his teachings to heart, nodding heavily. "As for the second point, you must stay away from women. Keep a body of pure yang. Only then will your life fire burn brighter and stronger. Once you lose your purity, that fire is completely done for." Old Master Ma slowly took a drag from his pipe, exhaling a thick ring of smoke. With a teasing look in his eyes, it suddenly dawned on me. Young men must avoid lust. "But what about you, Old Master Ma? When did you lose your pure yang?" As soon as the words left my mouth, Old Master Ma suddenly straightened his back, a bizarre sense of pride actually surfacing on his face. "Your granddaddy here is 58 this year. My life fire is the absolute strongest in Bloodfeast City. What do you think?" I was so shocked my jaw nearly dropped to the floor. Gasping sharply, I cupped my hands together in deep respect. So you're actually an old virgin. Forgive my disrespect, old Master Ma, you are mighty. But amidst my amazement, I couldn't help but fall into deep thought. Ahem, what if I have a dream at night, or take care of things myself? Does that count as losing my purity? Old Master Ma was stunned at first. Then his old face flushed bright red. Flying into a rage out of sheer embarrassment, he slapped the back of my head. You little brat, where did you learn such dirty talk? You're getting way too slick. Holding my head, I climbed up the stairs, feeling completely wronged. From behind me came old Master Ma's exasperated, teeth-gritting mumbles. Bullshit, of course it doesn't count. Otherwise, how do you think I survived these past few decades? He let out an annoyed huff. If you want to learn combat magic, you'll have to go back and ask your mother. I am only in charge of lighting the fire. Tonight, I will personally escort you home. Early the next morning, thick, dark clouds blanketed the sky. Wang Ju's family of 3 knocked on Granny Wang's door bright and early. The main hall was freezing and dim. Right in the center, on the 8 immortals table, sat a large bowl of raw rice. 3 sticks of incense were shoved upside down into the grains. Amidst the swirling incense smoke, the very moment he stepped over the threshold, Wang Zhu violently shuddered. He kept his eyes glued to the tips of his shoes. While inside, he was practically going crazy with excitement. As long as Granny Wang made her move, that little bastard from the Lu family would definitely suffer a fate worse than death. Then, he could sneak over to the Lu family's door, face the deliciously curvy Madame Lu, and say to her, Madame Lu, you don't want your precious son to suffer like this, do you? Thinking of this, his mouth suddenly went dry. He hurriedly bowed his head even lower, terrified that Granny Wang would see right through him. Beside him, Lin Dezhao's face was twisted in malice, cursing through gritted teeth, trying to wipe out our bloodline? Then you can all just go to hell. Father Wang stared at the table full of creepy, sinister items. Shrinking back a little, Granny, this won't actually kill anyone, right? Look at what a coward you are. Lin Dezhao shot her husband a vicious glare. Granny Wang let out a cold snort, slamming her wooden cane heavily against the floor. He won't die, he'll just fall deathly ill at most. Lin Dezhao, you should always leave a way out. It was just a petty squabble between kids. Outright killing them is completely unreasonable. Yes, of course. You're absolutely right, Lin Dezhao nodded repeatedly. But in her heart, she was rolling her eyes endlessly. A severe illness? A brat just a few years old? Wouldn't a severe illness just send him straight to an early grave? This old witch, she really has a way with words, taking all the credit whether it's good or bad. In truth, she had seen right through it long ago. There was no way this old woman was standing up for Zuzi. She was clearly just fuming that Master Ma had bruised her ego, and was taking it out on the younger generation. Did you bring the clothes? Granny Wang glared displeased at the cowering Wang Zhu. Wang Zhu hurriedly handed over a small scrap of cloth with both hands. I got it, that little brat didn't even wash his clothes. The third kid from the Zhang family sneaked it over. Granny Wang ignored Lin Dezhao's vulgar cursing. Her bony fingers pinched the fabric, pressing it under a coarse porcelain bowl brimming with raw rice. On the pale white paper, there were boldly written 2 characters, Zuzi, get on your knees. Granny Wang lit 3 sticks of clear incense, her voice chillingly hollow. You must remember, sincerity brings results. First, bow down and apologize to them, so you don't ruin your own karma. Shifting the view back to the manor, I pushed open the door and stepped out into the courtyard. In the faint morning light, a group of bare-chested boys were sweating buckets in the open clearing. Sweeping my gaze across the crowd, I instantly spotted a few outliers. Besides Lu Ji, who had joined the earliest, there was also a boy as skinny as a bamboo pole. That was Hu Wei, from the prominent Hu family of the ancient estate in Wangliang town. Faint waves of heat, invisible to ordinary people, radiated above both of their shoulders. That was the unmistakable sign of an ignited life fire. In this massive courtyard, they were the only 2 who had succeeded. As I walked past, bearing the realm of 3 fires, the eyes of the surrounding boys revealed nothing but envy and awe. Lu Ji hastily finished a few sets of punches, and eagerly rushed over. Hu Wei followed closely behind. Junior brother Lu, we are all learning skills under Master Ma. I joined first, and old Hu is second. From now on, we'll call each other martial brothers. My mind spun quickly, and I immediately cupped my hands, bowing with a childish, milky voice. Greetings, eldest senior brother. Second senior brother. This greeting made the 2 of them beam with joy. After exchanging pleasantries, the 2 senior brothers each pulled out a welcome gift. Lu Ji came from a poor family, so he gave me a hand-polished wild boar tooth pendant. Hu Wei, true to his wealthy upbringing, generously stuffed a small piece of tiger bone that could fuel the life fire into my hands. Meanwhile, down in the cellar, Master Ma was staring with gleaming eyes at the 2 remaining drops of Pixio blood at the bottom of the crucible. Clicking his tongue in absolute marvel, what incredible stuff. What is the background of this Lu family anyway? To be so willing to use such a treasure to ignite the fire for a mere toddler. While he was still down in the cellar marveling, I had already sneaked into his bedroom. A yellowed picture book lay open on the desk. Clearly, the owner had left in too much of a hurry this morning, and didn't have time to put it away. I remembered Master Ma mysteriously mentioning a spell that required extra money, and my curiosity was instantly piqued. So, standing on my tiptoes, I leaned in for a closer look. Instantly, I was hit with a massive wave of speechlessness. It turned out that this so-called peerless secret manual that required extra money was actually a book of erotic art. This shameless old geezer. The bedroom door was abruptly pushed open. Master Ma strode right in. He first glanced at the picture book on the desk. He glanced back at me, sitting there looking completely innocent, and the look on his face was just priceless. Without saying a word, he marched right up and hoisted me out of the chair like a little chicken. Even the back of his neck was glowing bright red. "Let's go. I'm taking you home right now." Master Ma was clearly dying of embarrassment. From the moment I climbed into the carriage until we reached the old woods, he just kept a straight face and didn't say a single word. He was driving the horses in such a rush, acting like I was some kind of hot potato he needed to get rid of. As the wheels rolled on, the eerie chill in the air started getting heavier. But I was pleasantly surprised to find that, compared to the bumpy ride here a few days ago, the trip back this time was incredibly smooth. I guess it was because I had ignited my soul fire. My spiritual power had spiked, so those wandering ghosts didn't dare to crash into the carriage like blind bats anymore. With nothing else to do, I started checking out the inside of the carriage. I noticed a bloody piece of stuffing shoved into a crack, so I reached out and pulled a little string of it. Ouch! An incredibly raspy, bone-chilling shriek of a ghost suddenly blasted right by my ear, scaring the living daylights out of me. "Hey, young Master Lu, could you stop picking at things back there? My beat-up carriage barely has any good parts left. Keep messing with it and the whole thing will fall apart." Master Ma yelled frantically from outside. That's when I finally realized what the stuffing was for. My face turned bright red, and I quickly shoved it right back where I found it. "Your carriage is pretty wild, sir." Master Ma didn't say another word, not until the carriage was just about to leave the woods. Right as we were approaching Wangliang town, he nervously cleared his throat. He kept his voice super low, totally failing to hide his guilty conscience. Little Lu, about the stuff in that book on my desk. You didn't see it clearly, did you?" I blinked at him, completely innocent. And I shouted back, "Yeah, I saw it. There was a man and a woman, sitting right next to each other naked." "You little brat." Master Ma practically exploded with embarrassment. "But what were they doing?" I pressed him, pretending to be totally clueless. Master Ma let out a massive sigh of relief and quickly made up an excuse. "They were, practicing their martial arts. Anyway, keep this between us. If you dare to breathe a single word of this to anyone." "What if I do? Are you gonna hit me?" I fluttered my big eyes at him just to tease him. Suddenly, the terrifying image of Madame Lu's ruthless methods flashed through Master Ma's mind. He literally shivered in fear. Right at that exact moment, the town's entrance archway came into view. "We're here. Get out." Master Ma yanked the carriage to a stop, looking like a massive weight had just been lifted off his shoulders. He shoved the door open and pretty much threw me out onto the street. Hey, we're still a long way from my house. But before I could even find my footing, Master Ma whipped the carriage around like his pants were on fire, kicking up a huge cloud of dust. He sped right back the way we came, leaving behind just one stiff excuse. "Got stuff to do at the manor." Watching the poor, easily flustered Master Ma run away, I just let out a helpless sigh and tightened the straps of my bag. I started walking into town all by myself. At this hour, Mom should still be looking after the shop, right? It's not time for her to go home yet, I thought to myself, but as I kept walking down the street, the chilly wind around me suddenly felt a whole lot colder. I rubbed my itchy nose and let out 2 loud sneezes in a row. I sniffled and muttered a curse under my breath. It's definitely that jerk old Ma cursing me behind my back. That wicked old geezer. Right now, he's probably driving that beaten-up carriage of his, slapping his thigh in pure frustration, muttering about how a little brat like me couldn't possibly understand all that messy romance stuff. Dragging my legs that felt as heavy as lead, I finally spotted the half-open door of our family shop. The moment the tension left my body, an overwhelming wave of exhaustion washed over me out of nowhere. Why am I so tired? I swore I got plenty of sleep last night. My eyelids felt like they weighed a ton. I pushed myself to stagger over the threshold, but before I could even make out what was inside, my legs gave out completely. I collapsed straight into a soft embrace that smelled of familiar peach blossoms. The exhaustion completely drained my strength. Couldn't even lift my head. I just hazily mumbled, "Mom, I'm home." Half asleep, I felt Mom gently take the heavy bag off my back. Right after, a freezing cold hand softly stroked the top of my head. In my haze, I felt something gross and sticky, like a spiderweb, being effortlessly ripped apart and crushed by her. I let out an uneasy whimper and tried to open my eyes. "Just sleep. Mom's right here. You'll feel better after you sleep." Mom gently patted my back, her voice incredibly soft and soothing. But weirdly enough, even while being comforted so sweetly, I instinctively shivered, even with my eyes shut tight. Could clearly feel the temperature in the shop plummet to freezing. Even the little paper straw doll with its mouth sewn shut in the corner began trembling in pure terror. Mom was giving off an absolutely suffocating, deadly kind of calmness. It was a terrifying coldness that wouldn't waver, even if she had to slaughter an entire city. Someone had crossed her absolute bottom line. They had dared to try and murder her child, the very child she sacrificed an entire realm of her cultivation to have. "Keep an eye on things here. I need to step out." Mom's completely emotionless voice was still ringing in my ears when, a split second later, A dizzying, weightless sensation suddenly hit me. By the time I managed to force my eyes open again, the surroundings were no longer our familiar shop. Icy, ghostly winds were howling. Creepy sacrificial tools were laid out on a large traditional table. To my absolute shock, Mom was holding my hand, and we were standing in a completely unfamiliar room. And old boss Ma, the very guy who had just dumped me at the edge of town, was actually here too. He looked absolutely terrified. His legs gave out, and he crashed to his knees right at Mom's feet. Looking further ahead, I saw Wang Zhu kneeling on the floor, shivering like a leaf, alongside a totally panic-stricken Granny Wang and the Lin Dajiao couple. We were in Wang family village. It's been so long, and I've yet to teach you any real life lessons. Today, your mother will teach you one. If you cut the weeds, you must dig up the roots. Mom didn't even spare old boss Ma a single glance. She just looked down at me tenderly, but her voice was as cold as ice. Wang Zhu clearly never expected that the beautiful woman of his dreams could unleash such a terrifying, overwhelming pressure. Even his most trusted old grandaunt was reduced to nothing but a shivering mess on the floor. Who are you? Granny Wang's teeth were chattering. She forced the words out in a hoarse voice. Mother turned a deaf ear to her, simply pointing at Wang Zhu. Her tone was as casual as if she were making small talk. Mother knows he hates you. It's just that he's too weak. So weak that I couldn't even be bothered to give him a second look. But I never expected that the old hag would use dark arts to ambush you. Since you've decided to make a move on someone, you absolutely cannot leave any loose ends. Otherwise, it's best not to act at all. Do you understand? The last bit of my drowsiness was instantly shattered by a bone-piercing chill. My scalp tingled, and I nodded vigorously. I understand, Mother. The moment the words left my mouth, Wang Zhu's silhouette turned into a wisp of smoke, dissolving into nothingness right before my very eyes. No screams, no struggling, an absolute, physical erasure. Immediately after, Mother's gaze fell upon Lin Dajiao and his wife. Since we are all parents, I understand your desperate need to protect your son. So, you must certainly understand mine, right? Another wave of dead silence washed over us. Before Lin Dajiao and his wife could make even a single sound, they followed in their son's footsteps. Finally, Mother took my hand and walked up to the deathly pale Granny Wang. If you don't pull out the roots, you beat the young ones. And the older ones come. You beat the older ones. And the elders come. It gets very annoying. Rather than waiting for them to come knocking one by one, it's better to wipe them out all at once. Granny Wang struggled to part her dry lips, seemingly wanting to beg for mercy. But in the end, she merely turned into a puff of dust. Watching all of this, cold sweat drenched my back. If Mother hadn't stepped in, this inexplicable drowsiness of mine would likely have been the prelude to an early grave. Every mistake is a lesson learned. This brutal law of survival was now deeply branded into my very bones. Now, Mother will teach you the second lesson. Weeds grow back in the spring. Mother let out a cold sneer. Her pale hand suddenly reached for the incense burner on the altar, pulling a burning paper doll out of thin air. Mercy, my lady, the little doll shrieked, its blood-curdling scream exactly like Granny Wang's. Standing to the side, Master Ma was completely drained of color. Clearly, even he hadn't seen through Granny Wang's little decoy trick. Mother looked at my bewildered eyes and gave a gentle squeeze. Poof, the incense doll crumbled into powder. Shadow walkers have thousands of dirty tricks. The slightest carelessness will leave a hidden threat. So, even if you watch them die with your own eyes, you must never let your guard down. Just as Master Ma thought this massacre was finally over, Mother slowly turned around, her gaze sweeping toward the dead silence outside the village. The third lesson, it is still, if you don't destroy the roots, the weeds will always return. The moment she said that, Master Ma completely lost it. Shaking like a leaf, he frantically kowtowed on the ground. My lady, you mustn't. There are over 100 lives in this village. Mother slowly lowered her head, looking down at him from above, her eyes completely devoid of any human emotion. Are you telling me what to do? Just this single sentence. Master Ma was like a duck grabbed by the neck, choking down every ounce of his fear and warnings right back into his stomach. He wasn't noble enough to risk his own skin for someone else's sake. I can't even remember how that one-sided slaughter came to an end. By the time I jolted awake on the wooden bed in the shop, it was already the dead of night. I threw on my coat and sat up, and in the blink of an eye, the blood-red candles in the room flared to life with a ghostly glow, as a familiar, bone-chilling aura seeped up from beneath the floorboards. Mother was here, only this time, she wasn't wearing that flawless human skin. She just quietly walked over and sat on the edge of my bed. Bathed in the flickering red light, the two of us, mother and son, just stared at each other in silence. Mom, do we have any, the kind of spells Master Ma was talking about? He said he couldn't teach me, and told me to come back and ask you. We do. My eyes instantly lit up. Mother stared right at me, and her ghostly voice echoed out, do you know where spells actually come from? I frowned, falling into deep thought. Then, I tested the waters. The yin walkers create them themselves? Mother nodded in approval. All spells are tailor-made by the yin walkers. Only the ones you create yourself will perfectly align with your own being. I lowered my eyes, and mumbled, pretending to be pitiful, but I don't even know what a spell is yet. She was surprisingly patient this time, explaining in a soft voice. The realm of three fires is just a basic use of your life fire. She told me to ignite my life fire. And then, she actually laid her bare hand right over my invisible flame. With a sharp crackle, her expression didn't even flinch. But little Grass, who was eavesdropping nearby, got so terrified that he scrambled and burrowed straight into the ground. The heat is barely enough. She grabbed my hand and guided it toward the flame. Imagine you're grasping a handful of sand. Now, pull it out slowly. I did exactly as she said. When I pulled my left hand back, it was actually wrapped in a layer of dancing flames. But the moment my focus slipped, the flames instantly died out. Mother let out a cold scoff, her eyes full of disdain. This is the kind of spell those outside yin walkers hoard like precious treasure. They just slap a flashy name on it like Blazing Palm and act like it's a miracle. In reality, as long as you recite the right chant, your life fire could burn for an entire day without damaging your core. I watched her walking away. Mom, you used to be a yin walker too, didn't you? She didn't even break her stride, leaving behind a single, icy response. What does that have to do with you? For the next dozen days or so, I was grounded at home, completely obsessed with mastering my life fire. For the first couple of days, the sheer exhaustion left my entire body aching. Thankfully, Mother slipped me a white yin pearl every day, which made that bit of fatigue completely vanish. I actually started to figure things out. Standing out in the courtyard, breathing in the scent of the withered flowers, I quietly ignited the life fire on my right shoulder. As I slowly walked forward, tiny sparks trailed right behind me like a shadow. Leaving a path of fire in my wake, I stared at my masterpiece with absolute pride. I smirked to myself, with this trick up my sleeve, at least I won't have to worry about any evil spirits stabbing me in the back. Just as I was gearing up to test my next move, a blast of freezing yin energy slammed into me. Mother had appeared right behind my back without making a single sound. Before I could even speak, her voice came through, heavy and grave. Something terrible has happened to your Aunt Huang. Aunt Huang? My mind flashed to the gentle, sweet Aunt Huang who had practically raised me. I frantically asked, what happened to her? She encountered an evil spirit. Her spiritual energy was too strong, and she turned into a vengeful ghost. And, she's coming for me. Old Ma is coming to pick you up soon. Do not go anywhere. With that, she sank straight into the ground, leaving behind absolute silence. I knew exactly how serious this was, so I packed my bags in a flash. I tucked the yin bead, the wild boar tusk, and the tiger bones safely inside my shirt. Barely 10 minutes later, the frantic sound of horses screeching to a halt echoed outside my door. Oh, for heaven's sake, my dear young master, I pushed my poor old horse to the brink just to come get you. Boss Ma's boisterous voice rang out as I leapt onto the carriage. Boss Ma twitched his nose, catching the lingering scent of life fire clinging to me. He couldn't help but smack his lips in awe. Ah, rich kids. The carriage tore down the mountain road, leaving the shop far behind. Boss Ma's inner gossip flared up again, and he started rambling on about my family background. Guessing if I was some washed-up aristocratic heir, I just rolled my eyes. I snapped back, you read way too many fiction books. Mind your own business. That shut Boss Ma up for a good while. He awkwardly muttered a curse at himself for being a blabbermouth. But right at that moment, a haunting, sorrowful voice drifted from behind the carriage. Little Bai, you made me suffer so much. The voice was incredibly thin. Accompanied by the ear-piercing screech of fingernails scraping against the carriage, it made my hair stand on end. What truly made my blood run cold was, the voice belonged to Huang Yi. Do not look back, kid. Boss Ma's explosive roar instantly snapped me out of my panic. I suddenly remembered the legend of the beauty snake. Turning around snuffs out your life fire. Son of a bitch, you dare block the path of Ma Lao San? Boss Ma cursed furiously, cracking his whip so hard it echoed like thunder. Right after, a wave of scorching heat surged into the front of the carriage. He had ignited his life fire. In that split second, I did not dare hold back either. An invisible flame instantly flared up on my left shoulder. With lightning speed, I channeled the spell I had just mastered without a second thought. The path fire. Tiny sparks of flame drifted out through the cracks of the carriage window. They landed precisely on that sinister, icy aura. Gah! An agonizing shriek instantly tore through the night wind, followed by a heavy thud. Something dropped hard from the outside of the carriage, and that bone-chilling coldness finally vanished into thin air. Up front, Boss Ma shoved the carriage door open, his fierce eyes wide with absolute shock. Damn, was that your doing, kid? I calmly snuffed out the life fire on my shoulder and casually muttered 2 words. Not me. Boss Ma stared at my completely unbothered face. His mouth twitched. Eventually, he gave me a thumbs up and muttered, just what I'd expect from a rich kid, even though he had no idea what spell I had just used. But for a ghost to strike the back of the carriage head-on, that's no ordinary trick. Once we fought that thing off, the rest of the ride was a breeze. Master Ma was scared half to death. He kept flaring up his life fire to ward off the shadows. He treated me like some fragile little prince. After all, it was his own life riding in this carriage. We made it back to the Ma family village up on the ridge in one piece. As I stepped down, glanced at the back of the carriage, right around the rear window. There were over a dozen fresh claw marks gouged deep into the wood. Definitely left by whatever the hell attacked us. The second we entered the village, Master Ma quickly pointed at 2 brand new rooms next door. You're staying in there from now on. Bunk up with Lu and the boys. I raised an eyebrow. That spot was nothing but rubble before we left. They tossed up a new building in just 10 days. They must have worked day and night. Catching my suspicious glare, Master Ma glared back, looking guilty but shooting me a harsh warning. I knew exactly what was going on. The old geezer was terrified I'd stay with him and stumble upon whatever shady secrets he was hiding in his room. "Hey, little brother, over here. The new place is super spacious." Lou came out to greet me, grinning from ear to ear. Boys training in the yard all stopped what they were doing, staring at me with mixed looks. Crazy rumors about me had been flying around the village lately. Some said I chased out Wang Zhu. Others even claimed I single-handedly caused the massacre at the Wang village. I couldn't care less about these cowards gossiping in the yard. I just ignored them and walked straight into the new room. It was still a shared bunk room, but the furniture was brand new. Tucked in the corner was a smaller set of bedding, clearly set up just for me. Hu Wei was sitting at the tea table, flipping through a book. Seeing me walk in, he cracked a rare smile. "Your senior brother went down to town early to get that ready for you. He's been waiting for you to come back." Getting called out like that, Lou rubbed his head awkwardly. I could hear the teasing in Hu Wei's voice, and I saw right through Lou's clumsy attempts to suck up to me. These spirit walker apprentices had seen what my mom was capable of, so of course they were falling all over themselves to please me. But I wasn't in the mood for their flattery. I muttered a quick thanks and sat on the edge of my bed. As the room went quiet, my mind kept racing back to what my mom said before she left. Huang Yi had been possessed and turned into a ghost, but mom was dead sure it was a trap meant for her. The whole creepy setup was exactly like that strange ghost attack from last time. Meaning, whoever is pulling the strings was testing us again. With mom gone this time, was she really going out to save someone, or was she hunting down the mastermind? Either way, even she felt the need to ship me off to the Ma village overnight just to lay low. Which meant things were getting seriously dangerous. But to make matters worse, right around dusk, Master Ma was dragged away by frantic folks from Yellow Weasel Ridge. They said a yellow immortal was blocking the road and attacking people. With him gone, the village had lost its strongest line of defense. I was all bundled up in my new blankets, drifting off to sleep when suddenly, a biting, snake-like chill slithered right into my bed. Every hair on my body stood on end. I jolted straight up in bed. At the exact same second, Lu and Hu Wei shot up like springs, frantically jamming their feet into their boots. A ghost made it into the village. Lu's voice was shaking, but his hands didn't stop moving. A ghost breaking into our compound. We haven't seen that happen in months. To think it happened tonight of all nights, right when Master Ma is away. I didn't have time to ask questions. Quickly threw on my shoes and rushed outside. Thick clouds completely hid the crescent moon. The whole manor felt like it was drowning in thick, black ink. Bang! The door to the communal dorm across the yard burst open. Over a dozen boys scrambled out, tumbling and crawling like startled birds. "It's a mountain demon," I saw its face. Zhe Laohei was taken. That ghost reached its hand through the window and just dragged him right out. Terrified cries and screams echoed one after another. Hu Wei's face was ashen. He spoke decisively. "You guys hold the line here. I'm going after it." Before he even finished speaking, two blazing, masculine life fires erupted on his shoulders. With a mighty leap, he vaulted over the courtyard wall like a massive bird and vanished into the darkness. "Protect everyone," Lu Zi shouted loudly, a ball of eerie blue life fire igniting on his left shoulder as well. He herded the shivering boys into the center. Seeing Lu Zi treating this like a life or death battle, those boys who had believed the rumors earlier now hung their heads in deep shame. I stood at the edge, quietly channeling the energy inside my body. The Yin Pearl's mother had fed me over the past 10 days weren't for nothing. My vitality and spiritual power had skyrocketed. I was just one step away from igniting my second life fire. Right when everyone's attention was locked on the fleeing mountain demon, my heart suddenly started pounding like crazy without any warning. Something's not right. I narrowed my eyes slightly, my gaze sweeping coldly across the thick, impenetrable fog around us. That shadowy, bone-chilling sensation hadn't vanished with the mountain demon's departure. Instead, it was silently circling nearby, carrying an incredibly suffocating presence. The evil entity that snuck into the manor is definitely not just that one. My eyes swept over a pudgy boy. I was about to look away, but suddenly froze. The boy got spooked by my stare and stuttered as he backed away. What is it? I didn't say a word. I brought the index and middle fingers of my left hand together into a sword sign and forcefully drew a breath of true Kai from my core. Opening my mouth, I blew it out. A burning, eerie blue fire arrow suddenly shot from my lips into the darkness. The fire arrow grazed the boy's scalp and disappeared into the night sky. Before the boy could recover from the shock, a foul-smelling, pitch-black mass of tangled hair abruptly crawled out from the back of his head. The thing looked exactly like a giant black spider. It instantly wrapped tightly around his face, frantically burrowing into his nostrils and ear canals. The boy collapsed to the ground in terror, clawing wildly at his hair with both hands, letting out agonizing gags from his throat. The boys around him scattered in sheer panic. Someone shrieked in terror. "Witch hair! There's actually a witch hair monster here too." Seeing this, Lu Zi's face turned pale. He quickly tried to channel his Kai, but his power failed him at the worst possible moment. He tried several times, but couldn't spark even a sliver of fire. Just in the nick of time, I dashed over to the boy in a few quick steps, forcefully swiping my left hand over my right shoulder. I threw both hands wide open. Boom, 2 clusters of scorching life fire roared to life in my palms. Stealing my resolve, my hands clamped down like iron tongs, tightly gripping that squirming, disgusting mass of black hair. Seared by the life fire. Suddenly, a swarm of shrill, blood-curdling screams erupted, as it thrashed around wildly. I gritted my teeth, refusing to let go. I let my soul fire burn it to ashes, inch by inch. At the exact same time, Six finally managed to catch his breath, and spat out a massive burst of soul fire. It blasted right into the demon hair trapped in my hands. The 2 flames collided, and the evil thing didn't even stand a chance. It was instantly reduced to a pile of ashes. All that was left was a pure white spirit orb, rolling onto the ground. I picked it up, and quietly tossed it over to Six. Meanwhile, deep inside the dark mountain trails of Weasel Ridge, a one-eyed weasel stood up on its hind legs, just like a human. Pressed its front paws together in a bow, blocking the path of an old man puffing heavily on a tobacco pipe. Master Ma, do I look like a weasel to you? Or do I look like a human? Master Ma glared at it, the soul fire on his shoulders and head instantly flared up, bathing his entire body in a glowing white light. I don't give a damn what kind of freak you look like. You dare block my path on my turf? You got a death wish? Seeing that its trick didn't work, the great weasel sighed helplessly. Master Ma, aren't you being a bit too aggressive? Master Ma took his pipe out of his mouth and rubbed his hands together. He let out a cold snort. Cut the crap, you old weasel. You get plenty of offerings on a normal day. So why risk ruining your cultivation just to pull this trick on me? What the hell happened out here? The great weasel lowered its voice, its single eye filled with absolute terror. That old blind bear from Bear Ridge, it packed up and fled overnight. Something terrible happened in there. Master Ma's hand trembled. He took a sharp breath. Both the man and the spirit knew exactly what that meant. In there was referring to the Death Vein, a cursed land of ultimate evil. Don't tell me that ancient monster finally woke up. Did some shadowy demon break loose? The great weasel shook its head frantically. Ma the Third, we've been neighbors for decades, so listen to me just this once. If that thing breaks free, the entire town of Wangliang is doomed. Get out while you still can. With that, the one-eyed weasel dropped to all fours and scurried off into the ancient woods in a sheer panic, vanishing completely, leaving Master Ma gripping his pipe, standing frozen in the chilling wind. After a long while, I couldn't catch it. That mountain demon vanished into the old woods without leaving a single scent behind. Foxtail jumped back into the courtyard, panting heavily with a look of pure frustration. Six handed him a cup of water and let out a heavy sigh. These mountain spirits are way too crafty. As for old Jay, I'm afraid he's already dead. Looking at the terrified young men, Six left out the part about me giving him the spirit orb, and instead, told the story of how I single-handedly defeated the demon hair. Exaggerating every little detail, after hearing the story, Foxtail looked at me, completely unable to hide the absolute shock in his eyes. The 3 of us took turns keeping the fires burning that night. None of us dared to close our eyes. It wasn't until the early hours of the next morning, when the sun finally rose in the east, and the warmth scattered the darkness, that the restless spirits outside the yard finally retreated deep into the woods. But right at that very moment, Master Ma came back. His eyes were completely bloodshot, and his hair was a messy rat's nest. It looked like every ounce of life had been sucked right out of him. He looked terrifyingly haggard. He just cast a single glance over the boys filling the courtyard, and then spoke up in a raw, hoarse voice. Go pack your things, all of you. In a bit, I'm personally taking you all back to your own villages. The moment he said that, the entire courtyard erupted in shock. Ignoring the gasps of the crowd, old Master Ma turned around and headed for the main house. Right before stepping through the door, he stopped, snapped his head back, and locked his eyes dead on me. Lu Bai, you, come inside. My heart skipped a beat, but I followed him in. The second I closed the door behind me, that familiar, foul stench hit me right in the face. Old Master Ma slumped heavily onto the edge of the bed. He didn't even bother lighting his favorite pipe. He just grabbed me by the shoulders, his voice tight with panic. Where exactly did your mother go? Can she come back right now? His grip dug into my skin, hurting me. I hesitated for a second before answering. Auntie Huang turned into a ghost. My mom probably went to find a way to save her. She's already a damn ghost, and she can still be saved? I just shook my head awkwardly, showing him I had no idea. That little shock seemed to snap him back to reality a bit. With trembling fingers, he started stuffing tobacco into his pipe. I couldn't hold it in anymore. Old Master Ma, what the hell is going on? Snap. He lit the tobacco from the spark on his fingertip and took a deep, fierce drag. He blew out a thick cloud of smoke. Over at the yin veins, a terrifyingly vicious evil spirit just broke loose. If things go as bad as I think, our entire Wangliang town is completely doomed. My mind went completely blank. The town is going to be destroyed? And my mom just had to leave right at this exact moment. Right then, an overwhelming, suffocating panic gripped my chest. If my mom were here, I wouldn't even care if the sky came crashing down. But now, then what about my mom? Don't panic. If things really get that bad, an expert at your mother's level will definitely sense it. Until then, you need to stick to me like glue. Old Master Ma was clearly terrified that something might happen to me. He knew he could never explain it to my mom if I died. So, for the entire next day, I was stuck sitting in that wildly bouncing carriage, watching old Master Ma drop those terrified boys off at their villages, one by one. Along the way, the old horse was so exhausted it was practically frothing at the mouth. Old Master Ma would then mysteriously pull out a handful of urine-soaked soybeans to feed it. Once the old beast swallowed those foul-smelling beans, it surprisingly sprinted like it was pumped full of adrenaline. After bouncing around for a whole day, I felt like every single bone in my body was about to shatter into pieces. Finally, on the last run, we safely dropped off the last boy at Lu family village. Under the fading twilight, old Master Ma and I were the only two people left in the entire Ma estate. Old Master Ma, the town is packed with people, and the yang energy is much stronger there. There's bound to be fewer ghosts there anyway, so why the hell are we risking our lives out here in this barren wasteland? I rubbed my aching shoulder, completely unable to hold back my burning questions anymore. Old Master Ma tapped his dry pipe against the wood, exhaling a thick, white ring of smoke. His eyes showed a hint of profound depth. This is the ancestral land of the Ma family. On this turf, my abilities get a straight 30% boost. Follow me down to the cellar. Tonight, if one comes, we kill one. If a pair comes, we slaughter the pair. Following close behind him, I secretly went over my trump cards. I hadn't exactly been slacking off today. Took the chance to secretly swallow 2 of those white yin pearls left behind by the hag's hair. Right now, the vitality in my body, which used to be at 5.8, was already surging, breaking right through to 6. My spirituality had also reached 4. Now, I just had to make it past midnight tonight. Add a stat point, and I'd finally reach total perfection. Old Ma, if I want to light the second fire, do I have to suffer all over again like last time? Nope, the seed was planted for you ages ago. Once your vitality and spirituality hit the mark, it'll ignite on its own. Before old Ma could even finish his sentence, he stopped dead in his tracks, spun around, and grabbed the back of my head. It was like he just touched some unimaginable monster. His fingers gave a violent twitch. He clicked his tongue and shook his head, just as the heavy wooden door of the cellar was mere inches away. An urgent voice suddenly called out from behind me. "Young master, wait for me." My scalp went numb with terror. Cold sweat instantly drenched my back. This evil spirit actually dared to take physical form in broad daylight? It even knew how to mimic Little Grass's voice. Just as I was about to gather my energy, old Ma just kept smoking his pipe without even turning his head, saying calmly, "What are you panicking for? It's just that servant ghost your mother keeps." My tense nerves instantly relaxed. But before I even had a chance to look back, my shoulder suddenly sank under a heavy weight. I turned my head in surprise. "Little Grass, you're not scared of the fire on my body anymore?" Before, she'd act like a mouse meeting a cat whenever she saw me. But now, she was sitting cross-legged right on my shoulder, steady as a rock. With her hands on her hips, she proudly tilted her little head up. "Little Grass has a brand new body now, so I'm not scared at all. And as for you, Ma the Third, I'm not scared of you either." Seeing her act so smug and bossy, I couldn't help but burst into laughter. "How come you're suddenly so brave? By the way, where's my mother?" Little Grass quickly covered her mouth, leaning in close to whisper in my ear. Her tone was super comforting. "My lady told Little Grass to pass a message to you, young master. She knows all about what's going on, and says you shouldn't worry. She's got everything handled." Hearing that, it felt like a massive weight had been lifted off my chest. As long as Mother was here, I wouldn't care if the sky came crashing down. Beside me, old Ma let out an even bigger sigh of absolute relief. With Lady Lu's word on it, his old life was practically guaranteed safe. "Ah the Third, you're eavesdropping on my young master. Shame on you." Little Grass didn't hold back, scraping her 2 stubby little fingers against her cheek to mock him. Old Ma's wrinkled face went completely dark, but he didn't dare lose his temper. If this little brat ran off to tattle to Lady Lu, he'd be the only one suffering the consequences. We followed the stone steps all the way down into the cellar. The scene was exactly the same as when we first lit the fire, with squirming meditation cushions resting on the ground. The surrounding walls were covered with old artifacts radiating a ghostly chill. Xiao Sao leapt down from my shoulder, pitter-pattered over to the wall, and stretched out her little hand, pointing accurately at a rusty hand saw on the highest spot. "Ma the Third, my young master is practically half a disciple to you now, and you didn't even give him a welcoming gift. Hurry up and take that down for my young master. Otherwise, Xiao Sao will go and tell her ladyship about this." She shifted all her weight onto her right foot, resting her left foot lightly, putting on a fierce, protective stance for her master. Master Ma's face instantly fell, looking more bitter than a mouthful of gall. That was the absolute prized treasure at the bottom of his stash. If he had known this ghost servant had such a sharp eye, he would have grabbed me and run off beforehand. Fine, I'll give it to him right now." Trembling under the looming threat of Lady Lu, Master Ma took down the rusty saw with an aching heart. He stroked it over and over with extreme reluctance before finally gritting his back teeth and handing it to me. "Listen here, kid, this is an old artifact passed down in the Ma family for hundreds of years. You absolutely must cherish it, you hear me?" I took this broken saw, feeling a bit bewildered. "This thing, how do I use it? The older an artifact is, the better its quality, and the more times it can bear the life fire." Master Ma explained in a muffled voice. So it turned out to be a weapon used to channel life fire. The shift in my mind, the true chi inside my body instantly surged. There was absolutely no need to press the saw against my shoulder to draw the fire. I simply formed a sword seal with my left hand, directly activating the life fire and channeling it into the saw blade through thin air. Boom, on the rusty teeth of the saw, a blazing, eerie blue flame instantly flared up, making a terrifying crackling sound in the dim cellar. Watching from the side, Master Ma's eyes nearly popped out of his head. He just couldn't figure out how a rookie who had only lit one fire could manipulate the life fire from a distance with such absolute mastery. Feeling the burning fire saw in my hand, my blood was screaming with pure excitement. If I ever ran into disgusting things like that hag's hair again, one swing of this saw would take their heads clean off. It was brutally savage to the extreme. Yet, I liked it immensely. You wasteful brat, put it out, quickly. Master Ma slapped his thigh in sheer heartbreak. This old artifact has a limited number of times it can hold fire. Every time you use it, you lose one, and you just wasted it for nothing. I let out a cheeky laugh, and hurriedly put out the fire to store it safely. Right at that moment, Xiao Sao, sitting on my shoulder, suddenly stiffened, and her voice turned ice cold. At that very critical moment, an extremely sinister and freezing aura rushed madly through the air vent, faintly accompanied by the hissing sound of a snake flicking its tongue. Master Ma, totally unsurprised, sat back on his cushion and sneered. Old black snake, since you came to visit, drop the creepy attitude. An evil spirit riot is one thing, but in my eyes, you're still just a worm I can crush with a single stomp. The sharp, piercing laugh above is suddenly choked, and then that freezing aura retreated with immense reluctance. However, this was only the beginning. The very next second, ghostly energy from all directions converged on the Ma estate like a burst dam. A dense swarm of footsteps echoed chaotically in the courtyard above, accompanied by the horrifying sound of nails scratching against the walls. Hordes of evil spirits had completely surrounded the place. I gripped the saw tightly in my hands, my heart pounding like a drum. Little Grass tugged hard on my ears, whispering comforts over and over. Don't be scared, young master. Little Grass is right here. Master Ma, if things are this incredibly dangerous right here, wouldn't all the people in the town be totally doomed? Master Ma shook his head with a grim look on his face. Those towns and villages have plenty of ancestral halls, with generations of old ghosts gathering together. The young energy there is incredibly strong. These mountain spirits and evil monsters are extremely cunning and value their own lives. None of them want to rush in and get themselves killed. So when facing those towns, they only dare to surround them at best, but never dare to actually attack. Before he could even finish his sentence, the dense sound of footsteps overhead had already reached the top of the cellar stairs. Right at that moment, Master Ma suddenly jumped up from his cushion and took big strides toward the stairs. I thought he was going to unleash some supreme Taoist magic. Who would have guessed he'd just whip off his belt? Accompanied by the splashing sound of liquid, Master Ma let out an incredibly cocky chuckle. Come on down, have a sizzle. The second the pea touched the dark spirit energy, it exploded with a violent screech, like boiling oil hitting water. That frantic, dark energy closing in from above, screamed and scattered like a retreating tide, as if they'd just met their absolute worst nightmare. The crisis was temporarily over, but the entire cellar was instantly choked by a sickening, overpowering stench of piss. Little Grass doesn't even have a nose, but she still covered her mouth in pure disgust and hid behind my head. You underworld walkers are seriously gross. This stench is killing me. Except for you, of course, young master. You smell the absolute best. I fought back the violent churning in my stomach, and in that moment, it finally clicked. Old Master Ma's bedroom, the one that always reeked of piss, was all thanks to this biological weapon. I can't believe I actually slept in there for days. Just thinking about it makes me want to throw up. Old Master Ma pulled up his pants and turned around with a smug grin. See that? There are some major perks to being a pure virgin boy. I clamped my mouth shut, terrified I'd puke the second I opened it. But his smugness didn't last long. After a short while, those footsteps above us, the ones scared off by the virgin pea, actually started creeping right back. Only this time, they were much more cautious, carrying an agonizing, dead silence. The cellar was quiet as a grave. We held our breath, absolutely terrified of making even the slightest sound. But right at that moment, crack, a sharp noise echoed. The dirt wall right beside me was brutally pierced straight through by a pair of pitch-black, barbed pincers. And right behind them, a massive basin-sized, a massive beetle covered in thick armor forced its way inside, reeking of piss. Just perfect, the beast was wildly thrashing its two antennae around, and it actually started speaking in a human voice, a sound that made my skin crawl. I broke out in a cold sweat. Without even thinking, I whipped out that antique saw I just gotten my hands on. My blood was pumping. A ghostly blue life fire instantly surged right into the blade. Die, you freak. I gritted my teeth, gripped the flaming saw with both hands, and brought it slashing down hard right onto its head. With a sickening squelch, the damn thing didn't even get a chance to scream. The massive head was sliced clean off. But just a few moments later, that disgusting filth bizarrely clumped back together, forming a white yin pearl about the size of a marble. What the hell is this sick freak of nature? I fought down the urge to puke, and looked over at old Master Ma. That sly old fox. Ugh, that is so gross. Little Grass, who was hiding on my shoulder, covered her eyes in absolute disgust. Old Master Ma squinted his deeply wrinkled eyes, flashing a sleazy, wicked grin. That's why when you're out in the old woods, you hold it in. Never take a leak out there. Because if that thing sniffs you, say goodbye to your family jewels, kid. Miraculously, for the rest of the night, not a single monster came knocking at our door. I was quietly shocked. It was obvious the old man was still hiding a few trump cards up his sleeve. Otherwise, there's no way he'd dare hold down this abandoned village all by himself. Once I was sure we were safe, I still didn't dare to spark my life fire, terrified the glowing light would attract more trouble. Since we were just waiting around, I finally asked the question that had been eating at me. Old Master Ma, those martial arts classes you run, nobody can actually ignite their life fire from them, can they? He just tapped his smoking pipe against the wall, and let out a dismissive snort. Ignite my foot, you think it's that easy? At best, it just builds up their physical strength, so they can run a bit faster when they run into a monster. Then what about Lu Ji? I pressed him. Lu Ji comes from a poor family. There's no way he could afford something as rare as a yin pearl. The old man just chuckled, cunning glint in his eye. If I didn't have a living, breathing success story to show off, how else would I get the folks in town to hand over their kids? As for Lu Ji, I secretly fed him a yin pearl myself to force his breakthrough. So that was it. My heart sank. In this messed up world, it's virtually impossible for an ordinary person to ever rise above their station. So, what's our next move? Are we really just gonna sit here and wait? I broke the silence. Little Grass peeked out and chimed in. Master, we could just go home and wait there. But old Master Ma just narrowed his eyes, staring deeply through the air vent into the night sky. No need. Blood City is bound to make a major move soon. Once the sun comes up, we'll head over to the old man's place to see what he knows. He was talking about the mayor of Yellow Millet Town, Zhao Ju. We agonizingly waited until dawn finally broke, and the old man and I pushed open the cellar doors. The glaring morning sun nearly blinded me. And when I saw him lead out that completely emaciated old horse from God knows where, my eyes widened in shock. With all the carnage last night, how did this fragile beast survive without a scratch? Just how many secrets is this old man hiding? I swallowed my questions, too afraid to ask. Hold on. Just before getting in the carriage, I suddenly stopped in my tracks. What is it now? The old man snapped, turning around impatiently. I took a deep breath of the crisp morning air, and with a single thought, I forcefully slammed together the surging vitality and spiritual energy inside me. With a faint, muffled pop, two bursts of invisible, deep blue flames flared up on both of my shoulders. The second fire was lit. I glanced from left to right just to be absolutely sure, before quickly suppressing my aura and snuffing out the flames. I hopped onto the carriage cleanly. Alright, let's go. Wait, you. Just like that, Master Ma stared at me dead in the eye, like he was looking at a monster. His eyes were practically popping out of his head. He stood there with his mouth wide open, unable to squeeze out a single word for ages. Finally, he defeatedly waved his hand. Never mind, let's go. Maybe he was completely crushed by how I broke through as easily as eating and drinking. Because for the rest of the journey, Master Ma kept a dark face and stubbornly didn't say another word. The old horse ran lightning fast, only slowing down when we pulled into the streets of Wangliang town. The carriage barely stopped before the terrified townsfolk surged forward like a tidal wave. Master Ma, what on earth happened last night? The evil spirits in the old woods went completely insane. Little River Village's defenses were breached. Even the combined strength of the ancestors from 5 or 6 shrines couldn't hold off those raving beasts. Out of over 100 people, less than 5 made it out alive. My heart violently pounded at the news, a freezing chill shooting straight up to my skull. Master Ma himself only barely survived last night thanks to some virgin boy urine, so naturally, he couldn't explain a damn thing. He could only scowl, yelling at the crowd to get out of the way, and drove the carriage straight toward the center of town. The carriage finally stopped in front of a grand, green tiled mansion. A sturdily built, slightly stiff-looking young man welcomed us into the courtyard. In the 4 corners of the yard sat stone statues of a bird, a fish, and 2 others, giving off the faint, deadly aura of a feng shui formation. The moment we entered the front hall, a lanky, gray-haired man with bloodshot eyes rushed out to meet us, his voice completely hoarse. Brother Ma, you're finally here. If you hadn't shown up soon, I was about to send out a search party for you. Seeing that we were back in a safe zone, Master Ma's fearless, arrogant swagger immediately possessed him once again. He took a loud drag from his dry pipe, glaring and scoffing. You old country bumpkin, over such a tiny little thing. You're scared shitless like a coward. I'm not joking, Brother Ma. If I hadn't burned enough incense for the Earth God in advance last night, and promised to throw in 2 more Taoist rituals begging for his full protection, our Wangliang town would have ended up exactly like Little River Village. Master Ma finally dropped his smirk. It was that vicious? Thought it was only my manner that got flattened. Tell me about it. I've already sent someone to invite Taoist priest Yi Shao. We also dispatched messengers to the city first thing this morning. He breathed a slight sigh of relief, his peripheral vision finally landing on me. He looked taken aback. Whose handsome young lad is this? Master Ma's grin practically stretched from ear to ear, the wrinkles on his face blooming like a flower. He looked like he was introducing his own flesh and blood grandson. The owner of the town's incense shop. Lady Lu's son. He's learning a few tricks from me now. He's decent enough. At such a young age, he's already ignited his spirit fire. Oh, my sweet heavens. Igniting the fire at this age, even in Bloodfood City, that's incredibly rare. Brother Ma, you truly are a master teacher. Hearing the flattery from an insider, Master Ma felt so incredibly smug he was practically floating. He couldn't care less whether he was actually the one who taught me. I couldn't be bothered to expose him, so I just played the part of the obedient little boy, sitting on the side and quietly sipping my water. I was pricking up my ears to get the lowdown on how things were these days. Right then, a guy in a short shirt rushed in, dripping with sweat and gasping for breath. Mayor, Master Ma, did you find Taoist Yi Xiao? Why didn't he go back to Withered Moon Mountain last night? Zhao Ju asked urgently. The guy looked a little awkward and stammered, well, last night, the Taoist spent the night at Widow Lin's place. The moment those words dropped, the atmosphere in the room instantly got weird. Zhao Ju's old face darkened. He slumped back into his armchair. Master Ma, on the other hand, picked up his teacup. Tutting and shaking his head, his eyes gleaming with that teasing, man-to-man knowing look. Soon enough, a wave of cursing and grumbling drifted in from outside. For this kind of deadly mess, why not go beg those big families in the city instead of dragging me into it? What the hell's the use of coming to me? I turned to look, and saw an older Taoist in a knee-length blue robe striding over the threshold. He wasn't wearing a Taoist cap, and his shiny bald head was literally gleaming in the morning light. It was quite the unforgettable sight. Once Taoist Yi Xiao stepped inside, he gave Master Ma and Zhao Ju a super half-hearted Taoist bow. When his gaze swept over me, those cloudy eyes suddenly lit up. He actually gave me a dead serious bow too. Little brother, you've got some real skills. I couldn't figure out this bald old guy's deal at first, so I just hopped down from the chair. Nice to meet you, Taoist. Taoist Yi Xiao casually took a seat right next to me. He tapped his knuckles lightly on the table, looking completely unfazed. Some nasty piece of work showed up over at the Yin vein. Wiped out more than half the guards, but those big families in the city practically live off that Yin vein. There's no way they're just going to let it go. We just need to sit tight and wait. You guys are just terrified those old masters won't come out of hiding. I can guarantee you right now, not only will they show up, but there'll be more than just one of them. Those casual words instantly made Zhao Ju let out a massive sigh of relief. As for Master Ma, he was just kicking back, puffing away on his pipe. With my mom watching my back, could there possibly be a bigger safety net in this world? That was exactly why he shamelessly dragged me along everywhere he went. Zhao Ju's eyes darted around slyly. He leaned in, slapping on a huge grin. Brother Ma, Taoist, since the folks from Bloodfeast City won't get here until tomorrow morning at the earliest, why don't you two rest up in town for the night? Without even giving them a chance to say no, he turned to Yi Xiao. Taoist. He lowered his voice to a whisper. I heard Madame Lu, the tofu seller on the west side of town. Her husband ran into something nasty out there. Just breathed his last, left her a widow with a kid. She really needs a Taoist like you to go over and perform some rites. You know, to really comfort her. Yi Xiao, whose sleepy eyes had suddenly lit up, immediately caught himself and put on a show of clutching his aching lower back. Looking all conflicted, he sighed, well, Widow Lin suddenly fell terribly ill last night. And I spent the whole night nursing her. If I have to go to Madame Lu's place today, whatever, I just can't bear to see people suffer. Gentlemen, I'll be taking my leave now. Before the words even left his mouth, he had already vanished without a trace. Running off that fast. No matter how you look at it, he was clearly in a desperate hurry. Having successfully dealt with one of them, Zhao Ju turned his gaze toward Master Ma, smiling just like a sly old fox. Brother Ma, I heard quite a few bizarre things have been happening in our town lately. Especially behind the closed doors of the Hu family mansion. Tisk, tisk, it's such a mess, it's completely unwatchable. Master Ma's hand, which was holding his tobacco pipe, suddenly froze. A sharp gleam instantly pierced through his cloudy old eyes, and even his hunched back straightened right up. I watched all of this unfold coldly, secretly clicking my tongue in amazement. Since Taoist Yi Xiao is a total womanizer, Zhao Ju tossed out the bait of Madame Lu, and since Master Ma is an absolute gossip hound, he deliberately dangled the juicy secrets of the Hu family in front of him. For this Zhao Ju to become the town mayor, his manipulative tactics are truly terrifying. Sensing Master Ma's burning curiosity, I played right along, gently tugging at his sleeve. I want to go home now. Honestly, compared to that desolate, ghost-infested Ma family manor out in the wilderness, I would much rather stay here in town. The moment Master Ma heard my plea, he slapped his thigh hard and immediately took the excuse I handed him. I was planning to rush back to the manor tonight, but my precious disciple here is really picky about his bed. He absolutely insists on going home. Oh, well, I have no choice. I guess we'll just have to bother you for one more night, Mayor. Having successfully made the two VIPs stay, Zhao Ju smiled so widely that all the wrinkles on his face squished together. It is absolutely no trouble at all. As the night grew darker, Master Ma personally escorted me back home, constantly nagging and warning me not to wander off. He promised he would come by later to stand guard at my door, before rushing off in a frenzy to go listen to his gossip. The room was completely dark, The only sound was Xiao Sao chattering away endlessly on the table. But I was just incredibly bored. My eyes unconsciously drifted toward the foot of the bed. To anyone else, it looked like nothing more than ordinary stone floor tiles. But I knew perfectly well that hidden right beneath it was a secret room, completely different from the world up here. Back when my mother was around, I never even dared to go near it. But now that she was gone, a sudden, strange urge washed over me. I stood straight up and walked right over to the foot of the bed. Young master, where are you going? Xiao Sao cried out in total panic. I stopped in my tracks, looked back, and shot back at him. This is my house. What's wrong with taking a little stroll? Before he could even process what I said, I had already thrown open the trapdoor and headed down the steps into the dark underground. The layout of the secret room was eerily identical to the room right above it. A few pale, ghostly candles were lit around the edges, their tiny flames flickering faintly, looking as if they would never burn out. It made the underground cellar feel even more chilling and sinister. The pool of blood in the far corner had completely dried up, but it still gave off a faint, coppery stench. My eyes finally locked onto a large wooden wardrobe in the corner. Taking a deep breath, I violently yanked the wardrobe doors open. Xiao Sao, who was trailing right behind me, gasped in horror and clamped his hands over his mouth. I only took one look, and instantly broke out in a freezing cold sweat. I stumbled backwards in pure shock, because the things hanging inside that wardrobe weren't clothes at all. They were two perfectly intact human skins. And right at the exact moment I pushed those doors open, those two weightless husks suddenly opened their eyes in unison in the dead silent basement. I stared intently at them, my heart pounding like a drum. As everyone knows, before a skin is worn, its face is entirely a blur. I could only barely tell them apart by their clothes. The one on the left wore a flowing, light pink floral dress, radiating a youthful, lively energy, like a delicate peach blossom. The one on the right, however, was in a deep red, tight-sleeved dress with a cinched waist, looking mature and incredibly alluring. I had never seen my mother wear either of these outfits before. "What are you doing here?" the red-dressed husk suddenly demanded. Her gaze was sharp and cold, yet her voice carried a bizarrely seductive charm. I fought down the rising terror in my chest, my mind racing. My eyes welled up with tears in an instant, and I whispered timidly, I missed you, Mommy. That's why I came down here." "Then why are you rummaging through my wardrobe?" I sniffled, anxiously wringing the hem of my shirt. "I just missed Mommy's scent so much. Just wanted to find some clothes you used to wear, just to smell them." The husk in the pink dress heard this, and her blurry features seemed to lift, her gaze softening instantly, brimming with deep, undeniable affection. But the husk in the red dress clearly wasn't so easily fooled. She scoffed coldly. "A grown boy crying all day long. Crying for his mommy? Pathetic." I quietly raised my eyes, looking incredibly wronged, and argued back in my sweet, babyish voice, "But Mommy, I'm not even 1 year old yet." The husk in the red dress was instantly left speechless. After all, isn't it perfectly normal for a baby under a year old to cling to his mother? She paused for a long moment before stiffly blurting out, "So young, yet your mind is already so complicated. You're nothing like a normal child." Hearing this, I actually dropped my fake timid act. I straightened my back, looked straight into the eyes of the red-dressed husk, and said with a childish but undeniably proud tone, "I am your child, Mommy. How could I possibly be ordinary?" "HMPH, the husk in the red dress scoffed, turning her head away with a touch of arrogance. But I sharply caught the undeniable flash of joy and pride hiding in her eyes. Just then, the husk in the pink dress finally moved. She slowly lifted her weightless arm and waved at me gently, her voice trembling with barely hidden longing. "Come, Xiao Bai, come to Mommy." It turned out, both of these empty husks were my mother. I didn't hesitate. I obediently ran over and threw myself into the embrace of the pink dress. She reached out, gently stroking the back of my head, her touch unbelievably soft. I leaned against that cold, lifeless skin, yet I felt a bizarre, overwhelming sense of comfort. My eyelids grew heavier and heavier, until I drifted off into a deep, peaceful sleep.